What is going on, guys? This is another episode of Rift Insight, Season 1, Episode 19. And the season for League of Legends for 2020 is over. Yes. So we finally have the 2020 World Champion winner, which is Damwon Gaming. And they reclaim the glory for the LCK, who have not won a trophy since 2017 when Samsung Galaxy won. And then we'll also go over just some other fun things that happened in 2020. But we also have some other really interesting off-season news that ended up happening earlier on today when I posted a video about those things as well. And if you are a fan of the LCK, there's two big heavy hitter moves in the off-season that you're going to want to hear about. But overall, I know some people have said, why do we fight on video? It's like, guys, literally, it's like people do this all the time. It's called debating. It's
Wait,
like you have.
me and you fight? Who said that?
No. They're like, I went back and there were some live streams where I saw the chat and someone they were like, why are you guys arguing? It's like, we're not arguing. It's just debating.
I've known this guy for like 11 or 12 years now, unfortunately.
We debate on like everything, and I usually win because I'm bringing like facts. He's bringing like emotion, and it's like, dude, I'm gonna win no matter what.
Whatever that was supposed to. I don't know where you went off on that tangent with, but
No, because like I think some people are not used to like debating, and it's like it's
well,
fine.
I mean, I think I'm a pretty emotional person when it comes to that stuff, so I raise my voice a lot more than other people. Maybe that's what it is. It sounds like I'm just yelling at you. I assume that's what it is.
There was that double lip saying spring split doesn't matter argument that people were using way back. It's like
I mean, I used that before
know.
he did, to be fair.
So, what was said on Hotline League is that Riot is going to be changing the format of the LCS again next year. That's what Travis said.
Are they going to do a one full season thing like I've been saying for 7 years now?
There was one guy that had your take actually, and Travis said that they're actually close to doing what you're actually thinking.
I've been saying it for how many years? It's the most logical. Like the fact that there's two splits literally demeans the first half of the season. I don't understand why they don't do it. You can make other ways to make an idea of who goes to MSI. There's no reason not to. Like just the reasonings behind all this stuff. I have to turn up my volume broke. Hello? Can you speak?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, my volume just broke on me. It upsets me. Like it's like honestly not even a professional person. I'm not some sort of like person that creates tournament brackets for a living, but I can put together the fact that I think this is for the most part not a very concrete way to do anything. Like the way they format all this stuff just seems illogical to me. It doesn't seem like the most beneficial way to see who starts off the season. Like, again, Cloud9's beginning of the season run should mean something, but it really amounted to nothing.
Especially but that's not Cloud9's fault, though.
It's like, not. I'm not blaming them.
But the problem with Cloud9 was that it wasn't their fault. It was more or less so things that happen in life that hurt them because they try-harded in spring to go to MSI. Then MSI ended up getting canceled. If MSI didn't get canceled, they will be just fine, honestly.
I mean, I still think spring all around because, again, the inevitable reason as to why you play NA is why you play League is to win Worlds. I think that's everybody's end goal. I think that should be everybody's end goal at the very least. And the fact that you don't even have a chance, I mean, the fact that a 17 to 16-0 run in spring could amount to nothing is like the worst possible outcome for me. I don't know. I'm not going to argue about all that stuff. I think there's people who think this is generally a good idea. But for the most part, I think there's better ways to get a team to go to MSI than just purely an entire split devoted to it.
So there was people that said, how do you select the team that goes? Literally, whoever makes the top 6 teams, the top 6 teams after about, I don't know.
When MSI is going to happen? Again, it's literally half of the season. Like you go to MSI at the end of the first split, which would be what, 16 so weeks.
MSI usually takes place so the spring split goes from like January, February, March. MSI is like around 8. MSI is usually right before summer starts, though.
Yeah, so how many weeks are there in a season? I keep forgetting.
So how many weeks are in a season? So like the regular season is usually 9.
Yeah, is it 9?
9 weeks for
Yeah, but 16 games,
if,
okay.
if you're talking like LCS and LEC, then it's like 9 weeks for best of ones, and then it's like
Yeah. So
three
essentially, what
weeks
you
straight for
do.
finals. Yeah.
So 9 to 10 weeks, you like at the 9 week mark, you would make a best of six bracket between the top six teams to see have them battle it out in a best of two to best of three situation and see who goes to MSI from there. It doesn't really have an implication in NA, obviously, but it still gets you send the team that kind of deserves it the most still. And then from there on, you play the rest of the season out. You still have the previous record from the beginning half of the season. Like, there's no reason not to do this. Like, I don't get why it has to be a two-split thing. It just there doesn't seem to be a benefit to it.
So now there's just going to be one trophy to get all year. That's the problem I have. There's only going to be one trophy to get all year.
I think
like
that's probably
concept.
Why. I mean, it's more.
I don't know.
It just seems. What
you have a chance at other orgs finally winning a title that they never have a shot at winning in general. I think that's.
I mean, I don't see a reason for that. They will earn it at the end of the season. Like, again, the top 8 teams are going out of 10. If you get into the bottom
they
two,
need to change that. They need to change that. I think it should be top 6.
I mean, top 8 is okay when I still think it should be top 7 to 6. I agree, but again, top 8 is fine when it's an entire season devoted to this. When it's an entire season, there's a lot more games, so it's a lot more of a. Again, you don't like if you make a top 6, teams are going to start being eliminated in the first 8 to 10 weeks of play because they can't catch up to the top 6, the 6th place team, but they can still catch up to the 7th and 8th. I think that's a big reason a lot of people would like to see that because you don't want to see an entire half of the season devoted to teams playing each other that really aren't still in the running. But this also does, if you're eliminated from the playoffs pretty early on, that means you could just throw a random roster in there of a bunch of young people and see what they do. Like that is one of the positives to this, in my opinion.
Well, I think you can make Spring Split matter simply because the problem with Spring not mattering came up about, Doublelift was a big proponent of that.
I said it before he did.
No, because you had the auto qualifications. Remember how Spring had like auto qualifications
so
later
what would
on?
You make it? How would you make Spring matter?
You don't. So that's the problem is that you take away those auto qualifications. That's the problem though.
Then
that's why
Spring
people had
doesn't
problems
have
with it in general. Well, no, because that's why people had problems with it in general.
Yeah, but how did you make Spring matter?
You have the auto qualifications for summer, depending on how many points you got. That's why people got mad because you would have like a bad team qualify going to Worlds off points.
What did you solve here? Like
you simply take away the auto qualifying and you simply do points again. But when you later on leading towards like a regional qualifier, how many points you get determines what seed you get in that type of bracket. That's what you get. That's how it determines you. It basically gives you a fail safe. That's basically what it gives you. That's how you make it matter. So that way, just in case if you start off spring strong and then you go into summer doing bad, you have a fail safe depending on if you make playoffs because you can still have the gauntlet to make worlds. And so depending on how many points you get, you'll actually have your ranking in where you get for the gauntlet. Why
is this more useful than a full season instead of 2 splits? Why is that? What benefits does this have? Besides
every other region like the LEC, the LCK, and the LPL all have spring splits.
Who cares? It doesn't really make an effect on them if they don't just realistically. No other sport that I can think of even does this. Like the reason they don't do this is because it doesn't make sense. Why would you negate the entire first half of a season to just points? Points are just boring in general. I just despise the concept behind it because it can make bad teams have one good game of best of 3s and they make it to Worlds. Like I don't like that. I don't like the concept behind points. I think it should be the playoffs decide who goes to Worlds. It should be the top 3 teams there. The best of the tiebreaker or the third place match means something because the team that loses the third place match is out of the tournament and they can't go to Worlds anymore.
I would say the LCS, even though people don't like it, to make the spring split matter to the point where it's more interesting. Adopt the LCK format.
No, I don't.
No. But in the wild card round, make it a best of 3 instead of an actual best of 5 instead of a best of 3. So you have the first place team in spring split. If we did the LCK format, the first place team auto qualifying to the finals. Then you have the second and third place team obviously staying where they're at. Then you have the fourth and fifth place team battling out in the wild card round. Make it a best of 5, not a best of 3. And that's how you make spring split more.
Best of 5 in every single round? That's a lot.
No, because the wild card round in the LCK right now is a best of 3, and people said they don't like that. They want a best of 5 for the first round.
I think
just make it a best of 5.
The LCK has the single worst format out of every region.
I think that format specifically can work for the LCS to make things more interesting. It's not good. I personally think it's a good format for the LCS. Because people say spring doesn't matter, but if you add in a format where the stakes are, if you only get top 5, that's like, okay, now you kind of got to try here because 5 teams is interesting. 5 teams may make it so you don't have dog shit teams like Dignitas and 100 Thieves making it at all. That literally eliminates those possibilities, and you have one best of 5 round, and you just move on, and there's no double elimination. That means if you get past the first round, that's good. You face TSM in the second round. If you knock out TSM, you knock out TSM. If you face Liquid in the next round and you beat Liquid, you knock out Liquid, and you face imaginary, obviously Cloud9 in the final, and you can knock out Cloud9. Like you don't have double elim, and you have less teams. You have no double elimination, and you have less teams in. That makes it a lot more interesting. I'm just saying, though. That literally makes it more interesting.
It doesn't make spring matter, though. It still doesn't matter.
It makes it more interesting, which would make it matter, though.
How would it make it interesting? I despise that format. It's really unbalanced because of the fact that the first place team gets such an uneven edge in their favor. The first place team always gets the benefit, and then the second place team, obviously, like, it's so inconsistent to find the best team. That's even... Like, honestly, I prefer a double elimination to that. Double elimination, again, it has its positives. Again, I think that it allows the best team to be the best. But at the same time, like, who wants to see... I don't like the lack of stakes that are in the best... double eliminations. I can agree with the positives, but again, I like upsets, so that's why I don't care about that. Like, all around, I think we should have a system again. I still think there really isn't... Like, honestly, I can't think of another system that is better than a single-season format. It doesn't make sense to have 2 seasons.
Now, they might still keep Spring Split, but they might be changing how it's structured and by how it affects summer. Like, if you have something in Spring Split that affects how your summer split would go, I think that's how you make Spring Split matter. But
why
the issue here...
Keep it. I don't get it.
But the issue here is you gotta, like, people gotta understand, like, you have to have something interesting the viewer all the way until summer. Because most general casual fans will always say summer only matters. How are you gonna keep fans interested in spring, though? Like, do people not understand this from a business point of view?
It's not about... I mean, I think the reality is I just don't see a world where they could... let's think about what they could do to make spring just as interesting as summer. What you could do, and I think this would be terrible, is essentially give... Like, if you go by points, the first place team in spring, if they make the playoffs, is going to make it to the finals, is going to make it to Worlds. If you go by your format where you put them in the regional bracket, they have a very large... like handicap in they only have to win 1 best of 5 to be able to make it to Worlds.
That's your benefit for getting first place.
In the spring split, which is essentially just a very small amount of... Like, you could overall have a worse record than the team behind you, but since you won spring, like, all around, like, you essentially get the benefit of on that aspect. I think what they should do, again, I've already said that I think they should, like, do the single season thing, because I always think that's going to be the best option. But, I mean, there's the possibility of your thing on the regional qualifier going straight into the finals. Oh, that's fine. It's good enough. But again, I think that really still negates the benefits of the third place match. Like, the third place match still doesn't mean anything if you go to that kind of format. Like, I think this all around...
I don't know if you have a third place match in the spring split. You would only have
I'm talking about summer split. Summer split, the third place match really still doesn't matter because you're not making it to Worlds. You're just making it to... You're qualifying for the what's it called? If you make it where this is a do or die, if you lose, you're out, and you get to make it into playoffs instead, because a lot of these teams, if you look at a lot of the teams in G2 and Team Liquid, and all of these teams, they seem to not really actually put full effort into the spring split at all. They really didn't care. And you could say whatever you want about viewer experience or anything like that, but the teams didn't seem to care. It wasn't even the viewers. Like, the only people that might have cared are, like, Dignitas, if they could win a title, but it's essentially meaningless if the best teams don't try. And they're not going to try in spring. They're going to try.
It's always hard. You would never really know if they don't try. Like, they never...
You can tell. I mean, you could tell.
It's not even telling. Like, people said Caps and Perks said they didn't try. They never actually said that. I need some receipts. Did they ever actually say that?
You don't have to say. You can tell.
Up?
You can tell.
No, I don't believe that, because if you actually go up and tell Faker that spring split doesn't matter, he's gonna laugh at you, because not any real competitor would ever think that. Any real competitor would
You
try
have
and
to tell
aim
me
as quick as
that,
possible.
but then tell me in the car that you should go in with a mindset of just caring and who cares if you lose and all this stuff. These are kind
That's
of
me. These are actually pro players. I'm just speaking from my own perspective.
I'm saying I can tell you right now, I don't have to hear him say it. Based on the way they played, based on the random things they tried out throughout the entirety of the season, they were not fully trying the spring split. And I don't care what they say. If they came out and said they tried, I still wouldn't believe them. Like it just based off play, based off appearances, based off how they lost the what's it called? Fnatic didn't look like they cared that much when they lost in the spring in the spring split. Like all these things.
By what the players had said, it definitely did mentally affect them. So it definitely had some effect on them. It just like I don't like when people say things about players that they never said at all. Caps and Perks never said they weren't trying.
I never said that.
It's like, you know,
people are saying it based off of how they played. No one said Caps and Faker said this. I mean, and Perks said this. They say Caps and Perk look like they're not trying. Like they
wanted to do the swap. They willingly opted into doing it.
Yeah, they could have. Yeah, again. But the reason they were able to do this is because they didn't care if they lost games. They didn't care if they didn't care about all this stuff. Because it essentially doesn't matter if you end up losing at the beginning half of the season. Because all you have to do.
Hopefully Riot can make spring matter to certain people. I mean, I like watching League in general. I don't really care if it matters to people in overall. I like watching League no matter what. That's me. But it'll definitely make a lot of people happy if they can make the first half of spring matter in their own personal opinions. I personally think that Doublelift had a big influence on the general casual audience saying spring doesn't matter. But like people gotta understand.
It was a very big conception that spring didn't matter before Doublelift said it. I was saying it before the season started. I said, man, they just made spring split irrelevant. And everybody else was saying
that was only by the championship points, though. Like the championship points
literally makes it useless.
No, but like the championship points made bad teams auto qualify to Worlds essentially. You don't want that.
I don't want a spring split if they're gonna make it not worth anything. Like it just.
But you don't want the other way either. Like it's.
So you're saying the only two options? Well, no, it's not. You could literally.
It is actually because you get a bad team going to Worlds.
You could just completely erase spring split, or you essentially have 16 games of League that don't really amount to anything throughout the entire year. Like you could say you like it, but a lot of people don't like non-competitive games, and that's why the viewership dropped.
But it depends, like, because Doublelift was a big proponent of him not winning. Obviously, if spring split not mattering, but I think that goes into another longer thing where it's like I don't know. I think he's bullshitting because usually when people say those things, it's because they don't win. Like it's very easy to say things when you don't win. Like on his stream, I was watching it one time, and he said, "Oh yeah, MSI 2019 matters to like G2 fans and LEC fans." He would not say that if he won MSI that year. I guarantee he would not say that because that wouldn't exist. People say it's called, from people who are watching or later on for VODs, that's called damage control. When you want something and you play for it and then you don't get it, it's easy to backtrack and go, I didn't want that. No, it's called damage control. I don't believe that bullshit.
Tell me right now, because again, Doublelift was not okay. I want to point out Doublelift was not the person that started this trend. He joined in on the trend and agreed with it. It was not him that started this. He agreed with the people saying this stuff. He did not. He
only did it because he was losing at the first part of the split. If he was on top of the first part of the split, he would never be saying these things.
He didn't start this. The thing people had been. This has been a common thought process.
No, I know. For a lot of people. But Doublelift made it more. What's that word?
It was extremely open before he started talking about it. I just like the thing about it is spring split was irrelevant. I don't really think it was a very poor execution. This is even worse than the last year's spring split. I think a lot of people agreed with that. Like spring split was just frustratingly like worthless, and everybody was upset about it. Then Doublelift came on and said, "Yes, I agree with that." And honestly, I agree. Maybe it was because of the fact that he lost, but that doesn't mean he was wrong. It just means that he did it for the wrong reasons. Like spring split was frustratingly like boring to watch because a lot of these teams just kind of just randomly didn't swap around the rosters at the beginning of the season, tried to force it up.
Like TSM. Whereas TSM not trying in spring, I can't believe that. I don't believe TSM goes into a season going, I don't want to try in it. I don't think no org does that though.
Do you think that spring split was useful? Yes or no? That's all I'm asking. In any aspect.
It depends.
No, not it depends. It literally, what did spring split do? It didn't amount to victory. I mean, championship points. Even if we went to MSI, I mean, that's literally, it's auto seeding anyway, so that's all it amounts to for Worlds. It's literally a build-up match for Worlds. Like, what does Spring Split do? In the
Basically, it gave you championship points, and it gave you
no, I'm talking about
basically
now, this season. It didn't do championship points. We're talking about why it was
the only reason why it didn't matter this season because MSI got canceled. That's the
Even
reason why it didn't matter.
MSI wouldn't have mattered anyways. MSI is literally just for Worlds. It's literally a tournament. The only reason it is a viewer spectacle, and that's what MSI is. But MSI doesn't really. No one looks at your MSI championships. They look at your World Championships. They look at who won Worlds this season. That's the best team. No one thinks, man, this is the best team in the world. This MSI champion team. Like it's just a fact.
That's,
I don't
that's
care.
why I think MSI needs. I think MSI would be better if you let the top 2 teams go. Honestly,
Possibly,
it's better.
I still despise. Like again, I like MSI. I enjoy watching the international competition and see what state each region is in going into the season. But it is just essentially compared to Worlds, it's for fun. That's just what it is. It's just not as competitive as Worlds. It's not as necessary as Worlds. And I love MSI. MSI has always been one of my favorite tournaments of the season, like more than pretty much anything else. But at the same time, I do agree. Like again, if you have an entire split devoted to it, it's not really that much of a reward. Just to be able to play like 5 to 10 games at the most. I don't know. Like the reality, like there's a lot of people that
we'll
like
see
him.
what Riot changes for next year. I mean, hopefully they make some. They'll have an idea of something they want to do.
They better because they did terrible this season. I'm so upset with them.
But I'll never believe people when they go, "Oh yeah, orgs don't try." Nope, I don't believe that. If you are an org and you literally say, "I don't want to try," you need to be kicked out. That's stupid.
Okay. The thing about it is, there's a difference between not trying and just trying random things because you know the games losing don't matter as much. When they got into the spring, the playoffs, they played a lot better. They played a lot better. I'm not saying they don't try at all. No team is not trying in the playoffs. It's just they just do random things because if they lose, what does it matter? They didn't, even though they saw Caps ADC wasn't working out, they played the rest of the playoffs like that because if they lost, like,
what's up, Knight? How you doing, bro?
But it's Sasuke.
Sasuke. You don't like touching on guys? Oh my god. It's just like teams like TSM, Cloud9, and FlyQuest, and you could already tell Spring Split mattered to other teams, like Team Liquid. If Spring Split didn't matter to them, they might as well just kept double lift then. Might as well kept the same roster that they did.
Why does Spring
Split did matter in certain aspects though.
Do you think Spring Split was well designed? Yes or no? Yes, this year. Did it matter at all? Even if MSI happened, do you think Spring Split still mattered?
It matters to a certain extent of letting you figure out
what
you need to do.
No hypotheticals. No, this should not be practice games.
These are things would happen though.
Like, what did you get? No. This is all. That just makes it sound like you're playing a bunch of scrims. That's what you're essentially building up the Spring Split to do. You're essentially just saying it's a bunch of scrims put together and they don't really amount to stuff, but you get to practice. Like, who cares? It's not about practice, dude. It's dumb. I hate Spring Split. Spring Split was literally the worst shape it's ever been in. There was no positive designs to it. Especially even if MSI still happened, it was still poorly designed. Riot did a terrible job, and they were acknowledging it because they're reshaping it right after the next season. They did no one was happy with this change. Like I haven't met anybody who's been happy with it.
Maybe they might make a double elimination finals in the Spring Split. I don't know what they're gonna do, honestly.
If they kept it the same, it doesn't matter how you shape the playoffs. It's still trash.
Well, we'll see what ends up happening. But I want to go over Damwon Gaming are the 2020 World Champions, guys. Yes, the LCK has finally won again. Woo! The LCK are back on top because Damwon didn't just curb stomp every single person they faced at the event.
I think the Suning match 4-3-1 was moderately okay. I mean, I really never think that they lost control of the game. They were always in control, but like Suning put up a better fight than I expected.
I think Suning made it a lot more interesting than I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, they looked interesting.
They looked actually pretty good. It was only until Game 4 they mentally imploded in their brains.
Yeah, they were done. They were done after Game 4. It's a bunch of young people. They really didn't know how to bounce back. If you look at it, like there's a lot of young people in the league right now. If you look at like Jackie Love, I think is like 18.
Yeah.
19. Yeah, there's just a lot of young people coming out of China right now.
It's just overall like I think if let's say in a different alternate reality where G2 beats Damwon, G2 gets to the finals again, and SUNY makes it to the finals, I think SUNY would actually win Worlds. But didn't happen that way.
Say it again?
If G2 had actually beat Damwon, got to the finals, and SUNY got to the finals, I think SUNY would have won.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they were the second or third best team in the world. Like, I'm not. It's not surprising that they'd win. But I mean, if G2 could beat Damwon, they would have beat Damwon too. Like,
that's true. But it's just, I think, I don't know. It's hard to say because SUNY were really good, but it sucks for them because they were just facing the much better team, though.
I want to point out, I actually think that if we look at it,
Kangen played out of his mind. But S1E22 also played out of his mind.
I think he was actually completely outmatched in the first two games. I think that Shen completely...
That Rengar game. Oh my god. I forgot when we were talking and I said that S1E22 didn't have any pocket picks. He had River Shen. I forgot about that.
He has a he literally plays every character in the game. Like I don't know. He's one of the most versatile champions.
That River Shen is disgusting.
I want to point out, I think that S1E22's not great at Shen. His Shen specifically isn't great on the champion specifically, but he's so good at macro and map awareness that he's able to play Shen well enough. He's not really that good of a Shen. I feel like that's the way I've got it from the mechanics I've seen from him. But again, we look at it. I think in game one he pushed a lot. He was a lot more aggressive. They kind of swapped up the game and how they were going to play. And that's the one thing I appreciate about Damwon. They changed the direction of how they approached the game to play against SUNY because they didn't play the same way they played against G2. In the first game, you look at it, they played a support that actually matched. They left his Leon up because you know he's going to pick it. They picked Pantheon into it, and Pantheon actually just straight up wins the game because he insta-kills your ADC. And then they made a lot of plays around, like the what's it called? They let them gank topside, and they just took dragons. They just straight up did what SLFM does, and that is like straight up. The coaching staff was incredible. Coaching staff made this such a hard game to be able to bounce back on because, again, they essentially played the game that SUNY wanted to play, but played it a lot more fast-paced. And then SUNY in game two, they left it to Leona again because, again, they picked Thresh into this, and Thresh is an even bigger counter. But, again, like they kind of devolved into too many skirmishes. This is what we kind of saw from Damwon inside of game two of G2 too. They kind of just played the way that they had. MSK, you look really cute today. Don't lie to him, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
I get complimented by girls and guys. Thank you, Knight. It's all good. Love you, man. I really think SUNY were just outmatched by Damwon, and if they faced anybody else in the finals, they probably would have won. The most likely.
I want to point out, I feel like individually, it wasn't really that. Besides mid was just straight up gapped. Like there was. Like,
I don't know. Angel played really well.
Angel got straight up dumpstered.
I don't really think so. Like in his Azir game, like if you put what he was able to do, he had such big he poorly executed on Azir. I was like, what is this guy doing?
He played Akali into Syndra and got 1v1 like 3 times.
He was almost the reason why they almost came back in that game too.
I don't know, man. This man straight up just gave me the flu yesterday.
Because a lot of people were like, oh, okay, Angel played that dragon fight really bad.
It wasn't just that. It was a lot of things. If you look at the Akali game, he played a counteractive pick into Syndra and got straight up beat in 1v1 twice. And that's not something you do because you straight up counter Syndra. Like, again, there's a lot of things, again, if you're playing Syndra, you're able to ult her if you ever see her at the beginning of the thing, and that's one counteractive point of it. But for the most part, the immobility of Syndra makes it hard to be able to play against Akali. Akali can QE her off of there and stun, but that's really the only... If you mess that up somehow, you can't do anything, like, really react to the rest of what Akali's going to do because that's your only way of getting around them. Like,
I think Ben played great throughout most of the series.
Ben played well for the most part. I mean, I think that he was 100% put in winning matchups a lot. And they had to, like, if you look at game 3, after the pentakill on Fiora, they straight up just like goon squatted topside constantly. Both teams. They're like, well, this is the win con.
I was like, Ben is over here showing Naguri how to play Fiora because Naguri went like 0-5 on Fiora. I was
he didn't even play that poorly. It's just straight up, they ganked top lane like 700 times in the Fiora game.
And then S1E22 pulled out Rengar. I was like, all right, he's trolling. He doesn't believe he can win. Then the way he played Rengar was actually, it was like how you play Jarvan, but it's a supportive Rengar that can also assassinate the ADC in one shot. I was like, huh, it's a new, interesting way to play Rengar. I like, that's just, man, if he thinks he could play Rengar in the World Finals and win with it,
The reason they picked up Rengar is purely because Evelyn. Essentially what happens, the only character that actually does good in Evelyn is Rengar, because every point in time, even when you're visible, Rengar's ult will show you it's about a 30-second duration, about around there. He's a full tank, so he can just throw out bolas like every 3 seconds. Like that is the correct way to play it. It was a counteractive pick into Canyon. I don't think there was a jungle gap. I don't know. Like, I think that for the most part, I think that
I don't think there was a jungle gap. I think Canyon and SOFM are pretty evenly matched. I mean, both of them do different things for their team, but I think that it's the same thing eventually anyway. They want to get their strongest laners ahead, but SOFM doesn't really do that though. SOFM primarily gets himself. SOFM to me primarily gets himself ahead. Then he'll focus on. But he'll focus on who is the strongest. SOFM, during the series, what I saw, he focused on himself, and then he focused on whoever was just ahead at second.
SOFM played full tank Rengar. Do you think he played to get himself ahead?
He was ahead at a certain point. By himself, he was ahead to a certain point. He was very ahead.
Okay, I agree he was ahead. He's literally just pure, like, DF. Oh, yeah, oh my god. No one actually used the active on it is the reason they said they got rid of it. But the reality is because the item was just stupid broken. But I think my big problem with what's it called? My big problem with the concept behind what a lot of people are saying about the jungle diff. Again, if we look at it, it's game 2. It was a straight up pick to where Evelyn can't do anything. I'm not going to give SOFM credit for something that was a really good pick on the coaching staffs. Game 3, his Nidalee was terrible. I'm so sad. Like SOFM played terrible on Nidalee. There's no excusing that.
We played bad in that last game too.
Like there was like not the worst thing ever, obviously. I mean, the last game everybody played terrible. They just completely collapsed. But the first 2 games, I actually think SOFM played substantially better. Like if we look at the purely the ganks, I think that SOFM for the most part was winning out for a lot of the situations. He turned around the bot side and was able to get them back into the game. The second game, he was able to get on top of a lot of people. If we looked at the gank inside top, he was able to auto attack, cancel Q a few times to be able to get the Ebola back on. So he get the empowered bullet and be able to snare him right there. He blew a cleanse after that, so he didn't have it for the next fight. Like
I swear, Sword Art was living up there in top side just to freaking get Ben ahead.
I think that's the reason they played a lot of aggressive picks in the bot side in the early part of the series is because of the fact that they wanted to be able to make it. They wanted to what's it called? They wanted to make it to where he was not able to roam as effectively, because that's the whole point of Rengar, like of Sword Art. Their aggressive early game picks where it was straight up a laning matchup where if he left, he would lose it, made him irrelevant in terms of his playstyle. But again, when it came down to his second game, he was really able to land a lot of key ease onto like the back line, and that essentially won them the game. But again, Damwon, honestly, individually, I don't really think they played that much better, but it was just such, like, again, if you look at the play, the way they transitioned, the way they set up everything, every single dragon fight, Damwon was there first. They set up vision. They had to blindly check it. That especially true in game 3. We saw like 6 people straight die trying to ward Baron because Damwon had preemptively set up vision, cleared out all their vision, so they couldn't walk in there anything but blindly. And even a tank dies if you do that. Like there was nothing they could do. That was really good on Damwon's part. I think that Suning 100%. One of their biggest flaws was shown that they don't actually like have the best ward control. And that was something that Damwon was able to punish. I mean, all around.
All I saw with Suning was Sword Art had one way of playing the game. And, like, they all have, like, kind of one way of playing the game, though. Damwon has multiple different styles they can play through.
I mean, Damwon plays the way their coaches build the comp around them. Damwon is perfect about that. I don't think their players are the best. Like, I really don't think their players are that much better than the other Korean teams. Like, honestly, if we look at just purely skill, like, matchups, if you look at them on paper, their team is not that much better than Dragon X's. Yet somehow, and individually on top of the fact, like, but when you look at them actually play, there's such a very big discrepancy in the way they play the game. They always approach the game differently for each team they play, and that's just what my favorite part about this team. Like, it is probably the most unique team I've ever seen, honestly.
Does Damwon go down as one of the best teams of all time from winning the World Championship?
It's in the top 3, in my opinion. I agree with that. SOFM played really well the first 2 games. His third game, he didn't land a single spear, which was just frustrating. He was always in the right spot, but he just missed a bunch of spears.
That's weird, though. He always capitalized on all the ganks that he never provided damage for.
He never missed his E, though. I do want to point out. Every single one of the heals landed on his allies, and that's all I can ask for. Like it was aggravating. He plays really well. It was a really good approach to the game. He just he choked in the game 3 and 4. Like it's just how it is. The first 2 games, I think there was a very even to very slightly in SOFM's favor for the first 2 games. But like what can you do after the first, like after that? Like you play really well in the second game, and then they just completely change their play style again.
Like, it just depends. Just Damwon were the better team on the day, but not by that much though. Suning actually pushed Damwon harder than any other team at the event, which was good.
It was a very large gap. I mean, I want to give credit to Suning. The way Damwon plays the game is they draft a comp specifically against your favorite picks. Like essentially, they left the Leona open in the first game because they know they're going to pick it. They picked a comp specifically designed to play around it, and then the first game, they're able to get a free win, obviously, because the Damwon's not expecting them to play well into their best picks. And then the second game, they pick a comp that they're a lot better at. It's the same comp, but it's a slightly different. And then like Damwon gets to see what the rest of their cards are, and then by that point, they're able to completely change their play style. The third game, it's essentially just a completely different tone from that. And then fourth game, most of the teams collapsed. Like none of them had the mentality to be able to play the fourth game. That's one of the best qualities of Damwon is just their versatility. But
and also credit to Damwon, as we'll talk about later, they got into the LCK 2020 franchise system moving into next year. So
I would expect so.
To that. You know what would be funny if they got not made it in and they just won Worlds?
Yeah, Naj and EM Fire. Apparently, one of the teams said we're picking up the banner of Naj and E, and like just why? Like that's not the banner you pick up. That's like it's like I don't understand that. I don't get that concept.
So the teams for Korea that won Worlds were what? SKT, Samsung White, and then you also have Samsung Galaxy. And you also have Damwon. So Damwon go in there with some of the best Korean teams of all time. It's really crazy how Faker still has 3 world championships. Oh my lord. People barely have 1. This man has 3. What an insane player. This man's got 3. And he almost won a 4th one when he was dragging Hootie and Peanuts dead corpses to the finals.
Hootie was like one of the best players on that team in the Worlds. Like the only good players on the team were Faker and Hootie. Like everybody else was terrible. Bang was terrible. Like no, yeah, that was pretty much it. Like no one else was good besides Faker and Hootie on that season 18.
I thought Bang was pretty consistent.
Season 7. No, Wing was consistently terrible. That's why he got dropped. I don't know. I don't see a reason as to like. There's a reason as Bang is not on the team anymore. It's because of the fact that he underperformed at Worlds and for the most part for most of the season. Like he played really well that previous season, and it's just disappointing. But that's really just to be expected.
They just wanted to go with a different look. They had Bang forever. So you just want to go with a different look at that
That's
point.
just a weird way to approach things. Like you would lose one season with LeBron James, and you're just like, you know what, get him out of here. No,
they lost multiple. They had not been winning a lot of splits with Bang after.
It's not because again, you don't replace somebody just because it's a fresh look. You replace them because they're bad.
That's what Korea does. If you don't win for them at a certain point, they replace you.
Where's Faker at? He's still on SKT. Even if they replaced him
Faker has pedigree. That's one example. Every other team, not them. If you don't win for them, they replace you. Look at
if you underperform
on Damwon.
No. You're looking at underperformances.
He underperformed, and they placed him.
If you look, yes, underperformances. If teams play well, do you think anybody tried to replace Smeb for like the majority of when Tigers couldn't beat SKT? No. When you looked at if you look at who they replaced on him in God, I don't remember that old jungler's name anymore. Who Peanut replaced?
Hojin,
yeah. Hojin was back.
My God, I haven't heard that guy in ages. Holy
and that's why they replaced him. You don't replace people. What do you guys think the future of T1? I think they're going to be terrible because again they have just look at it. I think that
I love your Madara thumbnail. You've never been here. Nahoof. A la Truck. Oh my God.
I think that if you look at it right now, if you look at LS as a specific person, he has a really good mentality towards the game. He has a really good understanding of draft phases, even though I think that he's kind of set in his ways in a few things. I think that his lack of appreciation for like either a first, what's it called? Last rotation rank like Renekton pick. I think that he has way too much like ideas on that as to why it can't work, but I think I've seen it work way too many times for that to be true. But for the most part, I think he has a really good approach to the game. I think the big problem as to why he can't be a coach is just because he doesn't have the personal skills. He
I
just doesn't
think
know how to be a coach.
he
He
fits
just
better as a head analyst because it was
he
said,
does.
rumored that he's not going to be the head coach. He's going to be the head analyst. They're going to get a guy who
That is
was
a good
really
idea.
good. It's going to be a guy called. It starts with a P. He
It's
was a
Colt.
he was super good at
StarCraft too.
StarCraft, and he has a
StarCraft too.
general understanding of League, and he can speak English and Korean for the team. So
I,
I think it's a great idea actually. He's always a person. I love LS, man, and he's always a person that says, "Oh yeah, coaches ain't shit. Coaches don't do this. Coaches don't do that." All right, put your money where your mouth is, and you actually do it then, because
but
it's
yeah, but that
very.
doesn't mean it's a
I
good
mean,
choice.
it's very easy to say you can do all these things coaches can. Now you're gonna okay. I want to see what he can do because I
I
don't
want to
like
point out.
if you are someone who always constantly talking shit about people, and when you're put into the position to actually put your money where your mouth is, I want to see
Why
if
is
you can do
this?
it.
Why is this a good choice for SKT? You're saying it's good for LS because you put
He's actually well. To be fair, in terms of org, like if you know about his backstory, he's been with T1 when they were called SKT for a very long time since
he
the
was
Star Wars days.
LS.
He's kind of known them for a very long time though.
Ellis was really bad on his previous challenger team. He tried to import people, and all around they fell apart completely. I think if we look at his drafting phase, obviously is a good mentality towards it. If he is the head analyst, I think maybe it has a good he might have a good idea on that. He does have a good approach to the drafting phase, but does he know how to swap up midway through a drafting phase? Again, he can do retrospective kind of things and see, wow, this was picked, this was a bad idea, but can he do it on the spot in the middle of the drafting phase? Because we haven't seen that. He makes predictions, what he thinks could happen, but he's never actually preemptively, something new pops up. Does he know exactly how to predict the beginning half of a drafting phase? I don't know if he does. I don't know if he 100% does. I think Damwon's patience was.
Well, you're a new guy, Lazy Turtle. I think Damwon's patience was the key. The other two LPL teams lacked because in 3 out of 4 games, Suning found a way to come back through 4 skirmishes around Dragon Soul, but Damwon just told it. Yeah, I agree. I think Suning played as well as they could. They were just playing a much better team, though. Like, Damwon, even though Suning had better skirmishes, Damwon just had much better team fighting. Every single time Suning got a great skirmish, Damwon capitalized on the way better team fighting. There was that dragon fight I mentioned before with the Azir. Yeah, with the Azir. It was Angel playing Azir. Like, they had a great flank position with Angel on Azir. Damwon just played the team fight better. They just played the team fight better.
Okay,
and
the reason they played. What's up?
What happened?
You want to finish that? You can finish it up. I'll wait.
I just personally think that, you can have great skirmishes, but Angel, being a younger player, he wasn't thinking about the numbers, the TP flank. He wasn't thinking that Canyon was still alive. He probably thought, oh yeah, I'll go in with Azir. I got 3 soldiers. I got my hourglass. I can kill all 3 of them. No, that works when they got stopwatches.
Okay, no,
he wasn't really taking consideration of that.
The stopwatches really didn't do it. I think the big reason as to why it didn't work out is because they separated a lot. If you look at it, there's a lot of either separations and a lot of the grouped up on the tank side, so they weren't able to fully get onto the backside of it. And on top of the fact, that was terrible. And Suning was trying to delay the dragon, but the secondary TP from Wukong right afterwards, what was that? Like, I don't even understand that. That was idiotic. That was a terrible TP on their part. Like, literally discoordination. You can see
it shows their that nervousness of being a rookie and being on the big stage. Because the difference with these games in the finals and the difference between the finals and the other games they played, there's a big difference, actually. You know what the difference is? There was a giant crowd looking at you.
It was about 5,000 people.
5,000? That's a lot of people. That's still a lot of people.
They have played on the stage in front of like 30 to 40,000 people.
I'm just saying, though, like, I think they made a lot of worse plays because they were, like, in front of a hometown crowd. They knew there was a ton of pressure on them because they made a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes they didn't even make in any of the rounds before.
Well, the reason, again, I'll point it out right now. Again, preemptively setting up Baron before the Vision before the dragons every single time. They walked in blindly every single dragon fight, and that is the reason they always had bad flanks. That's the reason they always relate to these things. They always got a pick before the dragon fight because they set up the Vision, which meant that they always had like a 4v5 or something like that. If we look at the Azir play, if you look at the specific play, they 100% spread out for them. I think it was a spread out on their part, but for the most part, they spread out so like Azir couldn't really do anything. They collapsed on him immediately when he went out because it was obvious what he was doing. Like, no one fell for it. Shen had for the most part, did what he could, but all they didn't have the damage. They shouldn't have went for that. Like, there was no way it was going to work, even if he got a really good play on that. Wukong, they wanted to delay because they wanted to try and stall for the Wukong to be able to get there because his TP was almost up. Mm-hmm. But again, like, it was impatience on their part. I agree with that. Like, they 100% forced a play that they shouldn't have. And instead of waiting for the Wukong, they all died preemptively. And there was a lot of plays. If we look at in game 1, in terms of just like the second dragon or so, he got a really good flank onto nuclear. Like nuclear, he got a straight up full combo that Leona did, but no one was close enough to follow up. By the time he got out of the combo, Wukong had to flash over full range with his ult already going and wasn't able to kill him off. And the ADC, like the rest of the team, never got to it. Mm-hmm. Like they got the dragon for it, but like it costed them two more kills. Like a lot of the things, if we look like the gold, it was in favor of Suning for a large majority of the first game, for the beginning half of it. Like I'm disappointed in the way the execution, but again, it's understandable. Damwon, I mean, Suning never went against the team that had this much ward coverage in the beginning half of the group stage. They never went against somebody who had this quality amount of ward coverage in any of the other matches besides this one. This match straight up decimated them. They were straight up out visioned. They got outplayed on their specific aspect of the game. I'm disappointed. Like it's not the worst thing ever though. I think there's a lot of good qualities that they actually showed. I think there's a lot.
Guys, this man didn't even have them winning the group in first place in his predictions. He's been watching SOFED for years, and it's like my time to shine with him. You put G2 over him. Yeah,
but look at it. Look at stupid Sword Art going into the regular season. If you look at the reason they lost to top esports is because they got like what's his name got permagank topped, Bin got permagank top, and bot lost on their own. And now bot lane is somehow winning. Like that's not something I could predict. They just turned it on during Worlds, and that's just going into Worlds. I didn't expect it. Like you just can't go in there knowing this.
Then, so moving on to LS joining T1 potentially, I think it's a good thing. I think Ellis is always someone. I mean, he's not a nice guy. You can tell by he talks. I don't know how he has friends, but people like that have friends.
Mean, he's condescending. It's two different things. Like he's just obnoxious.
I think he'd be a great person for a head analyst, but I think that also is going to be a missed thing on the broadcast. I'll miss him having him on the broadcast, but people got to factor in. You're always going to find someone else anyway. Broadcasters get shifted in and out. Happens all the time.
He was never as good a broadcaster as Monty, though. Like I want to put, like I just never enjoyed him as much. Like his jokes were never as clever. He wasn't as good as a person, and that's why I thought he couldn't work as a coach. I thought he was the coach.
The issue with being a coach is you have to make a player buy into what you're bringing. How is he going to make Faker buy into what he's saying?
I mean, he doesn't have a choice. I mean, I think that's one of the good things about Korea is the fact that you literally do as the coach says, and that's just how it works. And that's just, they have so much power over them. That's
and then, you know what Ellis could do when people say he doesn't know what he's talking about on when he's streaming, he can be like, "Hey Faker, come here." Faker says hi. Just some extra gangster shit like that. Okay, so if anybody who's there's 10 people watching right now. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the like button. We're actually almost at 10 likes today. Thank you so much. We'll still have episodes for this in the off season. It's going to be a lot more different stuff we'll talk about, but there'll still be episodes of this. C9 Fancast should be recorded this week, actually. But we're going out of town because I got to go get my girlfriend, actually. So the C9 Fancast will be pre-recorded on Thursday, actually. And I'll be up like around Friday or, Saturday. But the offseason is heating up because Kadril is also going to be taking a step back from pro play. And he's going to be also leaving XL Esports. I think Kadril is a great player. But I think people liked his casting personality that was on the Worlds desk this past event. So I think it's the best of both worlds actually for him. But I think that if you're taking a step back from pro play this early, he might not just return. But there's a good shot that, him missing pro play, he'll just come back maybe the following year. There's always a possibility, but if he feels like he can have a great chance at being a caster, that's fine. Because a lot of casters have said it's much more fun to talk about League of Legends rather than play it. And that's all up to personal opinion because they still play the game, just not competitively. So, what's up? Hello, Shock Chase. I love your Manga Kill Shotgun picture. Will you do more videos about the rumors of the offseason? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I actually just put out one about 20 minutes ago, actually, which is what we'll talk about actually right now because your boy always got the scoops. Let's go. Oh, Xerxes is joining Immortals, actually.
That's terrible. But I think that
right? That's the state jungler!
Yeah, Xerxes a better version of.
That's the same thing, essentially.
Xmithy is a worse jungler than Xerxes. I think that's the reality that
they might as well have just gotten Santorin. That's the same thing. That does not improve them.
You can't just get whatever jungler you want. You get what is optional for you. The reason I think this is bad is because it's an import slot, and he's just not good at. Like if he was an NA natural person, I'd be like, wow, that was a good pickup. But it's not. I mean, there's a lot of other options. Again, he's not going to get you the world stage. There's no reason to import if you're not trying to get into worlds, and he just doesn't have the potential for it. Like Xerxes was a good jungler. He was really good in the 2 seasons ago.
He was great when he came into Unicorns of Love that first year. He was fantastic.
All around, there's absolutely no reason I would keep Xerxes in my eyes as an import candidate, because again, imports are usually meant to be able to get you to that next step of, man, we're a good team, but we're even better. You're a bad team right now. Why are you importing somebody who's gonna make you slightly better, but now you can't train anybody because you have a limited time where you can actually have use for him, and then like limited time he can actually be useful, and then he kind of falls off. By the time you have a good team around him, like Xerxes is probably not going to be good anymore because he's already started going on a downhill trajectory. There's no reason to have Xerxes on this team. I think Xerxes, again, he's a better version. He's a better player than Xmithy was, but really doesn't matter that much.
I think he's a better player than Xmithy, but he's still the same player. Like, if you can understand what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he fixes their problems if he's the same player. He's a better player than Xmithy, but he has the same way. They do the same things of looking at the game. It's like night and day.
Night and day are opposites. You mean it's like
it's like PM and PM.
There we go. It's night and night, and I like that. I think you know what, whatever. Like they're obviously not making steps to be a good organization, so I feel like somebody who is not watching the league scene is making this decisions for them. Like it just like everything they do just blows my mind. When they brought in like what's his name last year, Soaz, and all these people,
Apollo,
I was like,
and
what is this team doing? And now they swapped out for rookies. I was like, that was a really good move. And now they're bringing in like Xerxes, and now I just am more confused than I was last.
Xerxes is the only person confirmed on the roster, rumored to be on the roster so far.
If they literally what if they just had Soaz, Xerxes, and some other rest of the team? Like, I would just be aggravated. Like, all of this progress you made by picking up a lot of good rookies who actually, I think, made moderately good steps. If you had the right coaching staff, I think both Linsanity and what's his name in top lane?
Linsanity, Alorum.
I think both of these players could be good if they were in Cloud9, they would have both been pretty solid players, but they didn't develop properly because their approach to the game is still as refined as it was back in academy. Like, all around, I think that if you want to make this team good, you don't go by bringing in imports unless it's a good player. Like, it's just like it's like a world-class player. That's when you bring in imports. If you can't get a world-class player,
I think this is why also TL won't do as good as most people are thinking, because they're gonna have Santorin. Santorin does not fix Team Liquid's problems, not at all.
They are a better team because they can play versatile things now. I couldn't say. Just look at it. 1-3-1 comps. Essentially, if you can play 1-3-1 comp, you can transition into early game comps. The reason they couldn't do that is because Impact could not play anything but tanks, and he could play Xshen aggressively. For the most part, that really only leaves you with one option to be able to play a 1-3-1 comp. If you have the ability to play early game aggressive top lane champions that are laning better, you're going to draw a lot of pressure topside. You have the ability to play through topside, which means that you have the ability to go for Rift Heralds, and you have the ability to transition mid-game into forcing them to be able to have to react to him in the side lane so you can have more warp control in the objectives. Like, with that, you're able to speed up the process of the game, but like they are a better team. They just, picking up Santorin just kind of gets them a slightly better jungler that doesn't really address the heart of what actually is jungling in this meta.
If Spring Split comes back, and we see Santorin in the Spring Split playoff game where he doesn't gank at all, you're going to rip all your hair off your head.
I mean, he ganked. He just never initiated it, which just actually, in 4 games or 5 games of play, how do you not gank once?
This man has brought this up all year. We're in November. And this man's brought this up since May.
I give credit to Santorin. I always give credit to Santorin. But how does he get so much credit for being an amazing jungler when he doesn't do the ganking aspect of it? That's like literally the most important aspect. He just doesn't do it. He just forgets that that's half of the jungling thing. And you know what? A little bit. I miss Xerxes from UL days. It seems like his. With his hair, he also lost his power. He was the Iron Legend and played many new jungle champs, then turned into nothing special jungler on other teams.
I personally think that was just Origin. And so he played on Origin and Splice. Yeah, two primarily slow, horrible mid-game teams. These teams are snails. They don't do shit. I think that made him worse, honestly, because he played fast on Unicorns of Love when he first came in.
It's true. I mean, it's just how it is. I mean, just look at is there no other better options in NA?
Yes, I mean, Svenskeren. Literally, Svenskeren.
Yeah, Svenskeren would probably be better option.
By Blabber. I'm not saying Blabber is the best option, but hey, you want to have a faster gameplay, Blabber will give it for you. Blabber will do it.
Lost his power with his hair. That's just such a good way to look at it.
I would say take Svenskeren, honestly.
We'll see. You can't just take him. Again, if he's not on the table, you're not going to.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, because they always have options to do it. They always have options for buyouts.
Yeah, but the team, they can buy out, but if the team doesn't want to give him up, he's not going to get him. Evil Genius.
The right amount of money will always sway people. I'm just saying, though.
You cannot get him against, like, Evil Genius.
If I gave you the right amount of money, you would give me your headset right now.
I would. If you gave me enough. The thing about it is, Evil Geniuses is very close to World Championship caliber. If you look at the process, it's like $2 million for these players to be able to play on these teams. Like, there's a legit reason. Oh my God, don't do that again. Oh my, gee, why? Oh my, I'm drinking.
You said they're close to being World Championship caliber. Are you blasphemy, man? What are you talking about? I said
world caliber. They can make it to Worlds, not win World Championships. That's not something I say about NA teams. Who knows what will happen in the next season in terms of item builds we start. I agree. I'm excited to see. I think one of my most seems like T1 as an org doesn't really like to play fast pace. They actually, again, if you look at Rift Rivals, they were the fastest paced team there. They made the largest majority of fast-paced decisions in the early game. They just fell off a planet after a while and they kept consistently dying, making mistakes. Like they pushed the pace of it. No, he gave me a heart attack. I'm drinking way too much.
He said TL, and yeah.
Oh, I thought that was T1. That's my bad. Fast-paced style. Even Jack has been going for a slow match. No. Again, that's what I'm saying. With the ability, again, this is how 1-through-1s actually speed up the process, because 1-through-1s come online in 1 to 2 items for the top laner, and that's when they start going. Bruisers come online with that. Yeah, you're good. Like, I just misunderstood. With 2 item power spikes in like a Fiora with a Trinity Force and a finished Ravenous Hydra, so you essentially could draw so much map pressure inside of the bot lane. Like, if you look at the statistics, like this is the single most aggressive like top laner out of EU. He was in first place for CS differential, damage shares, damage per minute, kill participation. He was second. Like all of these things, like first blood, like everything happened around topside in games that he was in, because he was essentially the best laning top laner in all of EU. But the reason as to why I think this will pick it up, again, he's going to push up. He's going to be a lot more aggressive in the early game, which means that they can either start ganking top or they can lose. Like if they don't help out Afari, I think he's going to really mess up this team. But like for the most part, he's going to push the pace in the early game by winning his lanes a lot more often than Impact ever was able to be. All right, when he comes online in the mid game with his 2-item power spike, he's going to be able to draw a lot of pressure in the side lane, so they're able to really kind of essentially have less options to be able to go bring their top laner or mid laner, whoever they have options. Answer him. They have to answer to him, and they're going to be able to get a lot more pressure on the objectives with that, because again, they obviously don't team fight as well, but when they're online in that kind of specific area, they make the enemy team have to react a lot more. Like, I'm expecting them to be a lot more fast-paced this season purely because of this pickup. Like, the one thing I do want to say is the fact that he's on this team means that Santorin is going to have to gank for top and bot, because both of these teams essentially are the identities of this team, and Jensen's going to have to take the back seat a lot more often with ganks.
This is also the reason why I actually hate that import rules actually exist, because let's say, hypothetically, if import rules didn't exist, if TL got Xerxes instead of Santorin, I think that would work better for Alfari.
I just want to point out, if import slots didn't work, an NA org would just be a brand at this point.
Hey, North America, the country North America is all about accepting different races.
Did you just say the country North America?
The United States of North America accepts all races anyway. So LCS should accept all races of people.
It's not... Whatever, man.
What do you want? A team full of white people?
They're literally European.
That's fine. We accept different races of people anyway.
I'm not even gonna...
The country literally... This continent that we are in literally accepts anybody and everybody. I don't see why the LCS has this like thing where they can't accept that.
An informational channel, and you just said those words to me. I'm not even gonna say what I had a problem with. With the item for whole viability, jungle champs, mating more champs, new rework. Right now, the PvE, for example, Bambi's Cinder increases damage by 200%, making jungle clear faster. Look at literally like this. The reason that this is actually going to be happening with the jungle right now is because you really don't have to build a jungle like item. That's the big actual aspect of it. T-Lil will be the front runner for the LCS. No, Team Liquid is the favorites by far, right? Like
I don't know, like, cause this is the type of roster where people say, yeah, it's gonna be the best. I can only say that when I see the other rosters. I'm not saying it right now.
I'm just saying, like, on paper.
Cloud9, people gotta factor in. Cloud9's always a contender, even though people don't like counting them. They're always a contender. TSM's always a contender, even though they sometimes finish dog shit in splits. Sometimes they're finishing like 6th. They're always a contender. I just want to see all the rosters first before I say who's a contender.
I just want to point out,
if the rumors are true and TSM get Licorice, that's
It's not an upgrade though. Like Licorice was literally worse. He was literally worse than Broken Blade recently.
It's like a side grade at worst.
That's not... like, that doesn't make them a better team. Why would you be like, oh, now I'm hyped up for TSM? Because Licorice 100% I think was better for a large majority of his career, but was not better in this previous split. Like, I just think all around, there's literally nothing on paper TSM could do to make them better than TSM.
They might. Well, there's rumors of Licorice, Impact. There's a lot of things on the table. They could go with the new bot lane.
If they go with Impact, they're a worse team. It's a worse
People
team
always say that, but Impact always wins splits, though.
Yeah, you know what? And he never wins lanes against Broken Blade or Licorice. He always loses them. He loses against Someday.
He's always the one holding the trophy, though, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, because he's on the super teams. It's like literally saying JaVale McGee is an L. And
I beat you in lane, but now who's always sitting at home watching the finals on computer? Licorice and Broken Blade. Impact's holding the trophy. I'm just saying,
because he's on the better teams. You don't get to be the better player because you're on the better teams. That just means that you fit this team well, and that's fine. But that doesn't mean you're the better player, and that's just the reality of how it works. He would not make TSM better.
He's definitely not better than... I'm just kidding. He's not better than Broken Blade or Licorice.
I just think all around, if we want to look at teams that could be better, we could look at upgrades inside. Like, I don't even know what NA's doing. I mean, what's it called? TSM's doing for...
Oh, you know what Bwipple said? After Bwipple made the 2018 World Championship Finals, he said 100 Thieves offered him $2.4 million to come over.
That would have been terrible. He literally was... Like, why would you literally are not even upgrading? You had Someday. That's the whole point of why you were a good team. Like, you're just getting another strong top laner.
I wonder how Someday would feel about that, knowing he carried their asses.
He was literally carrying them all season, and they're like, you know what? Let's just get another top laner, even though we obviously already have a strong top laner and we can't make it work. Like, 100 Thieves is just the weirdest thing. It's like they never even... He was the last place in EU this split. Oh, yeah, I see. I think Nick is making a joke right now, but... I think all around, like, what aggravates me the most is the fact that, like, they always...
I can understand why they would want... No, like, he was good in 2018, though.
So was Someday. Like, Someday was, like, the best player in NA. The LCS.
Having fun with off limits in Mister's house.
Nigga, did I just catch you having fun?
What is happening?
I feel like that's all you think. Anybody tries to have fun, I feel like that's you. You're the anti-fun monitor.
Tell me right now why you would be like, you know, we have Someday, so let's just get even if he's slightly better. You didn't address the problem. English. So it is Someday now. Someday
now
he has spoken English for years now. Those are where Caps and Perks goes. The rumor is that one of them is leaving. I heard Perks is going to Fnatic right now. That is the biggest rumor right now.
So what ended up happening yesterday was that they might be keeping Perks. So actually. Let's make that discussion. Perks or Caps? So, as you guys have... So, has anybody in the chat seen Twilight, Vampire Diaries? We have love triangles, right? So now, Carlos is in a love triangle with Perks and Caps. Who do you keep? the franchise player who's literally been here since G2 was called Gamers 2 when they obviously came in as a challengers team? Or do you keep Caps, the best Western player probably of all time at this point? Who do you keep? I'm saying, there's actually, to be fair, even if this is a love triangle, there's no wrong answer, though, because they're both incredible. They're both actually incredible.
The reason that I think one of the most amazing things about G2 is their ability to bounce back from pretty much anything. They have the best mentality when it comes to it. When it comes to their approach to the game, they always bounce back from an 0-2. And that's something that I appreciate about them. And I don't know if that's attributed. If it's attributed to Perks, I think I would keep him. Like, that's one of the strengths of G2 is their ability to play from behind and play from these deficits. But if it's not Perks' fault, it's like Mickey X is doing it all, I would keep Gabs because he's obviously the better player. But it all comes down to what is happening behind the scenes. Get to the final decision where our play. It's essentially a combined thing. If they're still in contract, the coaches get to pick. You cannot go anywhere if you're in contract.
It's usually always the owners who get to decide the final say, but it's, you know.
No, the players can't do anything unless the owners.
Yeah, literally, it's Carlos's decision. He chooses Perks, or he chooses Caps. Now, to be fair, like, I don't want to make this sound bad, but it's not. There's no wrong answer here. There really isn't. Because, but the problem is, if you give away Caps, you make another team insanely stronger. I do want to point that out. You make another team way better if you give up Caps.
You also make somebody stronger if you give them Perks. Like, I just think you really.
Well, kinda, yeah, but it's more or less so. Perks has won 9 titles, actually. That's ridiculous. Holy shit. This man has won nine titles. He is a leader. Caps also has won so many different titles. Now, it depends. Like, Perks is a leader, Caps is not. Can you mold Caps into being a leader? If you can mold Caps into being a leader, I would just keep Caps then.
You're born... like, I honestly feel like one of the few things that you can't actually teach somebody is leadership capabilities.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I've never... there's leadership seminars and stuff, but a lot of people are born with this capabilities. It's because charisma is not something you kind of learn. It's something that you're kind of, like, again, a lot of people are born with. It's like why you can't get girls is because you weren't born with the charisma needed for it. But, like, I think the biggest thing I like about... I think I have a problem with is whether or not actually Perks is going to be the one that we actually see, like, being the leader of this team, because obviously leadership capabilities are the biggest quality that a team actually needs. If you want to look at the reason that teams actually don't succeed on the international stage, even when they have the talent to, is because they don't have somebody that is willing to be there to be able to bounce them back from a loss. A lot of people, it's
where Broxo was and Core JJ was from Team Liquid when they were like pretty much already out. So you think G2 need a player like that?
I don't know if Perks does that. I don't know what happens behind the scenes. I have no idea. I assume
let's just say he does, for argument's sake. Like, what if Perks goes up against someone like Showmaker or someone like fucking, I don't know, Knight?
Did Caps do better against Showmaker?
I still would rather have Caps in that situation.
Caps
would not want to have Perks.
Perks is literally a sire. I don't know anything about what happens behind the scenes. I'm gonna pretend like we're just on argument's sake. We're gonna say he is the leader because again, if you look at the end game scene in terms of just when they were playing against Damwon and they lost, Perks was still smiling, and Caps was just like broken. He was angry, just like it wasn't like straight up.
That's how you would be. You're like, oh yeah, you should be frustrated after you losing. Yeah,
I 100% agree with that though. I think that's a better aspect in terms of just competition wise. But again, the leader has to try and bounce them back, or you're never going to mentally prepare. That's the leader's job on the team. You could be broken up on the inside, but you can't show it outwardly, and that's what I think that Perks actually is able to do. Like, I'm thinking honestly, if it is the fact that Perks is a leader, I would keep Perks. Because obviously a leader, like again, League is a full mentality game. If you go into like a solo queue game and you're like, man, I'm frustrated today, you lose like 6 games in a row and you keep playing, you're just going to consistently lose.
That was me yesterday. I lost 4 games straight, pre-15 minutes.
Compare how Caps tilted versus what? You lost 4 games pre-15? Oh, never mind, whatever. Compare how Caps rookie while Perks lost with Grace in 2018. It's just... It is what it is, though. Like, honestly, that's just some people have the qualities, some people don't. I don't blame Caps at all. It's like you're able to lose and be frustrated with it, especially when you play poorly, because, again, losing is one of the most frustrating things for a competitive person. Like,
it's especially for G2 because G2 are obviously on top right now. And giving up Caps is going to make another team better. Whether you give Caps to Fnatic or any other team in the LEC, he's going to make that team better, and that team's going to be a competitor for G2. That's the issue with it. And Perks, let's say Perks goes to Fnatic and he replaces Nemesis. Now that means potentially EU has 2 other great world caliber teams they could be sending that are even stronger than they are right now. And the issue with that is, would Perks ever want to go to Fnatic? I mean, I think after all these many years, Perks should go to another team and see if he can make that team really good. Because if you're factoring in Legacy, and if you want to really solidify Perks as one of the best Western players ever, imagine going to the rival org, winning championships on the rival org, and then going to Worlds. The same though. That would also, like, if you're talking about Legacy, I do it. I go to Fnatic. And the issue here, I don't think Perks should go to North America. You automatically tell me you don't want to win if you come here in North America. Just go to Fnatic. Just go to Fnatic. Why would he go to TSM? That's stupid.
Like, who is LEC Wooler? It's somebody who actually has made a few, like, I remember him popping up last year and all that stuff, but I don't know if it's 100% true. It seems like somebody that's behind the scenes, but again, I have no insider information on him specifically, so hopefully it's all.
Hi, Ichilocos. How you doing? LEC Wulos, he was right about a few things so many years ago, and recently too last year. In Esports Manikaus, he was also really credible too. Esports Manikaus broke the news about Mithy being Fnatic's head coach last year, and a lot of the other LEC rumors too, because they're in that type of community where he gets like a lot of the information. He does it where like he says it as a rumor, but it's actually true. That's kind of his thing.
Okay, so think about it like this. It's not just, even if it doesn't happen, doesn't mean that Fnatic was not talking to Perks, because there's going to be a lot of all these teams are going to be talking to him at once. That just means, so Carlos said he was crazy, basically. I mean, Carlos, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Carlos obviously knows more than this guy does, so who knows? Caps back to Fnatic, but get Reckless. And why would Reckless leave, though? Like, Reckless, I mean, honestly, if they had Perks and Reckless, I think they'd be a substantially better team than they are now. But again, I don't know how good Perks is at mid lane anymore. Like, he did pretty decently in the spring split, but he was obviously a slight downgrade from Caps. Did you just leave me? Is he gone? Like, what is that? You really just got up just to pull up a shirt like that? What are you doing, man? Nah, I hate when people kept defending Nemesis being on Fnatic when he was losing to Bjergsen, even though TSM gave Nemesis his best champion. Like, I don't know. Nemesis didn't really lose that late. Nemesis actually popped off against TSM, I feel like. It wasn't like a pop-off, but he obviously looked a lot better because, again, they gave not only like the 2 best characters on each one of their best, like the 2 most impactful characters on like 2 players. Like best Lucian on, he's the best Lucian. His best champion is Lucian.
This was their MSI jersey from last year.
Thank you for telling me that. His best champion was Lucian, and his best champion is Eve. Like, I agree that he wasn't great, but again, like, for the most part, like, we saw a lot of these players. No one really kept up with like all these international like players. Like, we saw Caps really did not. Nemesis had 1 bad split and is getting flamed so hard. I mean, he did have 2 bad splits. I think his entire year was pretty bad. I think he played really well in the playoffs. I think that's really where he bounced back on his Lucian. He actually straight up dumpstered G2 in their first series, because like all around, I think, especially in that last game, he solo stopped a backdoor twice. Like, Nemesis, I think he showed a lot of talent in his first season. I still think he has potential, so I wouldn't give up on him. But at the same time, there was obviously a big discrepancy, and the reason they weren't able to win is because of the difference between him and him and Knight. Like, Knight straight up beat him in the later half of the game, but again, Selfmade also lost in terms of the jungle matchup, so you can't really only blame him. I think or
as a guy with his engine on, just keep going for a little bit longer.
It's fine. Like, I don't know what the actual like identity of like Fnatic is going to be without him, but again, I think that a weak side mid laner is not the optimal way to play right now. And that seems to be what Nemesis does. It's really not that loud. You're fine. It's moderately quiet. You should be fine. But I think a weak side mid laner, especially
for me. I personally think that a lot of people are. I brought this up before. I'm gonna do a solo video on this. I think people are like actually in love with some of these players, and I'm not trying to be mean, but like a lot of what people like about players comes from YouTube content. Do you like a player because of their gameplay in League,
no.
or do you like them from the content they produce on YouTube? Because I think people should separate the 2. if you actually separate the two, Nemesis played bad the entire year. It was just only more exacerbated at Worlds, though.
Maybe with the meta next year, maybe weak side mid laners are like the meta, and I would literally have a Nemesis for that because he plays that well. But like he plays the Galio, and like he can have the pocket pick Lucian if you need a carry. But like for the most part, he doesn't have a strong champion pool when it comes to carry mid laners. He really just plays supportive mid laners a lot more often. I don't know what's going to be meta next year. It's not. It really makes it seem like a lot of these characters are going to be strong, so I'm not sure who's going to come out on top until I actually experience it. Like, I have not played on PvE at all. I have no idea. I don't know what seems to be meta. I mean, tank supports seem to be
Nemesis was worse than Bjergsen. What? Like,
no, he was not. Bjergsen was substantially worse than Nemesis this Worlds. Like, it's not.
I mean, before Worlds, Bjergsen was better than Nemesis pretty much all year, though.
Yeah, but Bjergsen was better than a lot of mid laners, like, going into Worlds. Like, it's just not that bad.
You said Bjergsen was better than Xie, and Xie beat his ass every single time they faced this Worlds.
I mean, Xie didn't really... Like, again, Xie beat everybody this Worlds besides...
He was actually pretty good. He actually got a...
He stepped it up during Worlds. I still think Xie wasn't better than Bjergsen most of this year.
Xie is a very weird player.
He's a good mid laner. Like, no one's denying that. I just thought that Bjergsen looked better for most of the majority of the season, but again, he did not look better at this Worlds. I'm not going to try and refute that aspect. Nemesis had no champion. Well, it's just look about it like this. Like, if you look at FlyQuest, literally 90% of their games, they resort to Orianna. It's not always about champion pool. It's about how you impact the game on specific champions. Like, you can have a pretty decent meta pool, but again, if they don't ban your Orianna, you're going to play it. That's what FlyQuest does every single situation they can. They always pick Orianna when they can. That's what I disliked about like FlyQuest, but it seemed to succeed for them. Even in the world stage, it was okay. Bjergsen always falls in his face at Worlds. I don't think it's happened every single time. I just think specifically this is the worst I've ever seen him.
Well, we could count them. 2014, he played pretty well. 2015, he played insanely well. 2016...
I think he played fine in 2016. 2017...
fine. Because in 2016, I remember this actually. He got his ass kicked by Cloud in that second week, though.
Everybody... Cloud was like the best mid laner in 2016. Like, he was one of the best mid laners in the world.
He played up against Xiaohu, lost.
Xiaohu was... Well, I mean, to be fair, Xiaohu's beat most of the Western mid laners that he's faced.
Then you also have... he beat, what was that shitty-ass Splice mid laner they had a long time ago? Sencux?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he beat the shit out of that guy. It was Sencux, yeah. I remember.
No, I'm just saying, like, both those mid laners...
He played all right in 2016. He played all right. 2017, he played fine.
2018, he wasn't there. In 2019, he wasn't there.
This is 2020 is a big old giant fail.
It's terrible Worlds. I think that it really amounted to... Honestly, if we look at it, the strength of G2 is kind of the weakness of TSM. They're not able to bounce back from losses and all this stuff. And I think that the reason is that Bjergsen was never a leader. He was just a good player. But he tried to take up the leadership mantle, and that's why this team struggled so much.
Reginald tried to mold him into being a leader.
You know, Reginald's not a leader himself. He's just a person who barks orders. That's a completely different situation. You can't mold somebody being a leader. Like, that's just the reality of how leaderships work. Like, Reginald actually is somewhat of a leader. Again, I think he takes charge a lot, and that's why you could consider it. Where does free agency start?
November 16th, actually. 16th. Where it officially starts. So that's when all the rumors that you guys heard, some will be confirmed, some will be pretty much disbanded, actually. The ones that you can pretty much count on, if ESPN already reported on these things already, like Alfari going to Team Liquid, Oda Wamne going to Rogue, which I think is going to be a big benefit for them, actually. That's pretty much it. Yeah, anything ESPN reported on is probably already going to happen, so don't be surprised at that.
Rogue looks substantially worse this year, actually.
I think that they would be substantially better next year with Oda Wamne.
Did you remember who they got rid of?
Finn.
They got no, not just him. They didn't confirm a few other players on that team, and I can't remember.
They also got rid of Vander. That's it.
Yeah. That was like one of the best players on that team. It wasn't just Vander, was it? It was two players.
Finn and Vander. That would be two.
No. I'm not counting Finn as a player. There's somebody.
Finn and Vander.
I'm not counting Finn. I think somebody else didn't come back.
Vander.
If you continually say Finn after I said I didn't count him, I'm going to kill you.
Do you listen? Finn and Vander are two people, you said,
right? Specifically, when you said that to me, I said, I don't count Finn as a player, and you just kept saying Finn.
I do not count Finn as a player, and you said two people. This man's crazy, guys.
Said, I'm not counting him as a human, and you just kept saying his name, and that drove me crazy right there. I hate you.
Sencux flopped on Gambit. Sencux was on Gambit? Oh, shit, they wasted half a spring. All right, maybe spring doesn't matter if they're playing fucking Sencux. Holy shit.
Let me see.
What do you guys think of Mr. Beast's rumors of owning a team? Who's Mr. Beast actually? I know people kept bringing him up.
Mr. Beast is just some guy who gives away money on YouTube. I don't know anything more about him than that. That's like literally the most I know about him. But again, that's what he got. What's up?
So Rogue without Vander is not a good move. Yeah, I don't think Vander was their issue. Vander, I don't think was their issue at all. It's always weird how people just get rid of Vander and he's not the issue for the teams. That must be really, really frustrating, actually. Because like he was not a problem as the reason why Rogue were doing bad. Like Finn was just a trash top laner. That's just how it was, you know. I don't think Hansama's gone. No, they only it was only just they're kicking out Vander and trying out the new rookie support, and they're taking away Finn and bringing in Odo. Mr. Beast, I'm gonna have to see not some receipts from him. I'm gonna have to see some forwardness from Mr. Beast into owning a team, because anybody could say that, you know, they want to own a team. I gotta see some forward progression into that, because owning a team that's a lot of money. Like it's actually just a lot of money. So we'll see what he does. Actually, I'll look him up right now. Mr. Beast, first guy that pops up. Mr. Beast has 45 million subscribers.
Mr. Beast, I mean, no, sorry. Finn was literally the only issue Rogue had. I mean, no, it wasn't just you're just looking at players though. Like their entire approach to the game was terrible, and that's why they couldn't ever. Just look what they did against stupid Damwon. Again, Damwon's a hard team to play, but they literally always played everything reactionary. Only purely reacting to everybody is just the worst possible way to approach the game. One E-Masters, though, you have to bring at least one player up. They're bringing up the support. I heard that Hansama didn't want to play without Vander, and that's what I was talking about. But let's see if that actually amounts to anything. Like, it's probably not going to matter at all. Like, I think the reality, like, Mr. Beast owning a team is I don't know how rich he is. They really do cost him.
He was so rich that he donated $50,000 to a person on stream. He's got like 3 different YouTube channels from when I checked. He actually is. He'd be pretty rich. 45 million subscribers. His second channel has about 10 million. Yeah, this guy's rich. I don't have to look at any of this shit. This guy's rich. His least highest channel has base 1 million subscribers. Holy motherfucking shit. This guy's rich. His least channel has like 1 million subscribers. The one that's called Mr. B Shorts has like almost 2 million.
Rome and Shadow pretty fast. One bad tournament and bye, but I agree. I mean, again, let's look at it like this. I think Arome actually, again, they said they had a lot of success with him on carries and scrims, but it never translated to the stage. His ability to play Jax was absolutely atrocious, and that's one of the easier carries to pull off. Again, he has a lot of solid matchups. Again, he does well into it. Like his length of his E is the big thing about it, and he wasn't ever able to pull it off properly in a team fight. Larson was so hyped going into Worlds, and it was Larson was. I heard people talking about a lot of people going into Worlds, like what's his name?
TSM.
No one. I mean, I was hyped to begin TSM maybe making it out of groups, but they disappointed even the slight amount of expectations I had. Rick Fox will ever come back to ownership role? I have been a fan of Rick Fox ever since he's been on Lakers back in the 2000s, like back in the Shaq days and all that stuff. And the realistic situation is, from what I've seen with him, as much as I like him, he doesn't seem to really want to come back, and I don't blame him at all for that. The racism and the lack of accountability the league had for like ownerships and all that stuff really just made it like unapproachable at that point in time. He got no repercussions, lost all of his money because they just held like. The shareholder that said all these things held hostage. Like it's aggravating, but I don't see him coming back. I think he made statements that he said he didn't want to come back, and just it is what it is. I mean, one of the reasons Shadow was gone could be synergy issues with Kaiser that showed towards the end of the season. Kaiser is the best player on that team, so if it was literally Shadow not being able to mesh with him, I would kick him too. Kaiser is the future of this team.
Well, it's also a big difference. Like, you know, Mad Lions got first place with Rogue, you know, vice versa, first and second, in a online split. It wasn't on stage, you know, so people must factor that in, you know.
I mean, we can't take
them finally. I mean, but once you finally saw them on stage again, then you saw like all their issues just come completely.
It wasn't just that. I mean, they started falling apart towards the later half of the season and in the playoffs. It wasn't just the audience, because they started falling apart towards like the online stage still. Like they still started playing poorly then. So it's really, I don't know if we can chalk it up to that more so as their inability to consistently play the way they did towards the beginning half of the season, or maybe it was the competition doesn't, like, again, it looked like Fnatic and G2, the two strongest teams, just didn't look that good in the summer split at the beginning. And they didn't really have competition to fight, so they fought Rogue for second place. And Rogue wasn't that good either. Like, again, there weren't those two top teams were probably some of the worst two top teams we've seen in the EU in quite some time, even though they had some potential. It's just a lot of young people who were just relying purely on mechanics. Like, the aggression, like, both Rogue and Mad played terrible in the second half of summer. I agree. And I think the worst part about Mad is that, like, the hyper-aggressive that we saw at the beginning half of the season for them just was non-existent later on. Like, I think that the reliance on Lee Sin was kind of weird to me. I don't think he needed to because, again, he looked decent on other champions, but Arome trying to, like, when they put Jax on Arome and they beat G2, I was like, this man can play tank. This man can play carries. He looks good, and then he just never was able to do it again. Dismantling, though, kind of doing what TSM did to Broken Blade, pretty sad. I don't know. I mean, again, there's stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't see. If they're saying, man, Kaiser just hates this man, like you have to listen to your star player regardless. It is straight up. It's just like the person you have to confirm, like give way to. You have to make sure he's comfortable. You can't always give him too much power, but saying like, man, the reason we lost is because this guy just doesn't work with me. I think there was also a champion pool change that hurt a lot, like Support Senna gone and other stuff. I mean, Support Senna got buffed throughout the entirety of the season, and it still never made its way back in. Like, it's crazy to me.
Like, there's a lot that could really go into it. I don't know. Most people already looked at Madden Rogue from the past LEC 2020 summer split, where they already knew that they weren't that great, and it was just because like G2 and Fnatic were just playing really, really bad, you know. So let's go on to the 2020 season highlights. What are the best moments from 2020 for League? Good God.
We're talking. I don't know. I mean, off the top of my head, who knows?
Good God. Cloud9 finally ended their title ship drought. That was a good thing, honestly.
Cloud9 falling apart towards the later half of the season. That was a good highlight.
I like that one. 2 balances. There you go. They finally they knocked out one part of their history that was always a dark cloud over them. Then they brought it back again with another dark cloud. I like it. How else was it? The LCK finally won a trophy after like 3 years.
2020 was the worst year of all time. Like, my least favorite.
This year is actually horrible.
Like, it's just been the worst. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna say all these things like just ragging on this stuff, but it's just the reality of what, like, just the state of the world right now with all the Corona stuff and all that stuff. Like, I get it. It is terrible, but League for the most part has looked pretty interesting. I think there was a lot of good, like, kind of transitions from League. I really think one of the best changes this season again was the changes in Ketchup XP, where mindless ganking, just pure hyper aggression in the early game from the junglers, just didn't pay off as much because you had to have more meticulous. Yeah, you have to have a more meticulous approach to it, because if you get a gank off. If you get a gank off and don't get the CS to kind of make up for it, you essentially are weaker than the enemy jungler, and you're just a supportive player. And that's why SFM popped off. He's the guy who's been playing like full tank, like Jarvan and all this stuff, and full tank Rengar all these seasons, because like supportive junglers, you get your laners ahead by mindlessly ganking. You're behind the enemy jungler, but that doesn't matter. At Worlds with what happened, no hype. I mean, I don't know, man. I had fun with Worlds. Like, that is the worst part, though. Vietnam was one of the most hyped up, like, minor regions. They just couldn't come because of all this stuff. Like, I think that's just what it is. I mean, I'm
always hyped for Worlds. Even though, like, Cloud9 didn't make it, I'm always hyped to, watch Worlds. Watching quality games is always good. Watching all the teams from around the world come and, clash is always insanely fun. I love watching Worlds no matter what. I wonder why we never saw Ivern. Ivern is cancer. That's why
we never saw Ivern, because of the fact that he just literally, first of all, his AI is horrible. Daisy controls like an actual like the cars from what can I compare it to? Like the car. What is the bad car driving game? Whatever that is, a good bad car driving game. That's how Daisy responds. Just like completely busted. Just doesn't properly work, and it's just Why would
It's
you
like
play
a
a character?
more weirder,
not
better
just that.
version of Tibbers.
No. It's a worse version of Tibbers because Tibbers controls better. Tibbers has an E that actually speeds him up and gets all this stuff and has a lot more damage. But
They actually
again,
buffed Annie for all you Annie mains out there.
Annie's absolutely busted right now. If you want to play support Annie or mid Annie, you are in good shape. But I think the reason Ivern isn't played first off is because not only doesn't he, I would say the average fan it wasn't hyped. Travis, Craft, and Mark Z talked about how bad Annie viewership was compared to years where we sucked just as bad. I don't know. I mean, Lilia at
I didn't get a
Worlds.
chance to read it.
Lilia was picked up a lot. I mean, Lilia is an extremely good champion. I mean, we saw her a lot during the group stages. I mean, if you're asking why she wasn't picked as often during the later half, is because there kind of became a meta that you played. It's either you picked up Graves, he was banned, you played Lee Sin, and all these things, these hyper-aggressive ganking early game champions that transitioned late into good peelers. Lilia doesn't really do that. She has the ability to set up really good engages towards the later half of the season, but the damage that she brings is not worth the lack of frontline capabilities that she doesn't have. Like, I think that Lilia might be the most interesting character in the game right now, though.
There was I was browsing through the TSM subreddit because I love just like potentially getting like cancer, and this guy he had this mid lane list, and it said best mid laners of all time: Faker, Bjergsen. That's it. Nobody else compares. I was like, I need whatever fucking drugs you're on, please.
I bet you this guy was being sarcastic and you just couldn't squeeze it out of there.
No, these people are serious. You guys have to think these people are not being sarcastic. These people are serious.
Inability to read sarcasm.
No, these people are saying the truth and they're branching it off as sarcasm, but this is what they really think, though.
I don't believe you.
I know these people.
You don't know these people. You've never seen this man in your life.
I've dealt with internet people before.
Seraphim and KD. The reason they hate Seraphim in general is just look at the reason. They made a very bare bones kind of like what's it called? Kind of storyline for her in the background. Kind of bad lore. Her kid is essentially a revamped version of Sona. The only reason she's in this
Mike.
world.
Thank you. These people are actually serious.
Yes,
these aren't stupid people. So you're saying every single person is just sarcastically making stupid hot takes.
I never said that.
That's what you're saying, though.
I did not just say that. Literally, what you're doing is the most over-the-top inability to read what I'm saying, which is the big reason as to why you can't read Reddit comments. If you look at this right now, you look at this guy saying Faker Bjergsen. That's it. Do you really think anybody in the world believes that Bjergsen's the second best mid laner all the time? There's some people.
TSM fans are that stupid.
No, they're
not. I believe it. Yes, TSM fans are actually retarded.
You are just absolutely just mind-boggling crazy.
You have not have comments from TSM fans ever.
I've talked to people. There's crazy people, and I agree with that. But the thing about Reddit is the reason that it is actually so weird to me, like so kind of crazy for a lot of people to pick up on, is because it gives a voice to a lot of unpopular opinions, and all you have to do is push the upvote button, and it just kind of pops up there. People won't disagree with this because if it looks like this is what everybody thinks, and a lot of people just refuse to disagree with it at that point. There are some people who do believe it, but the majority of people don't. A lot of the people, I'll tell you right now, if he posted the comment right now, if he sent it to me, I could literally decipher that it was. Do CSM fans do believe that stuff? Like you can decipher whether or not it's actually true.
Dude, you believe this stuff. Like, I'm not making this up for. I'm not making this stuff. I'm not making stuff for my benefit. I'm just saying people are this stupid that they believe this stuff. That's what I'm saying.
I'm looking for this comment somewhere.
I think they deleted it. It was like in a mega thread. I like literally was scrolling down because I was just reading some stuff. But
look at that! A mega thread doesn't even sort by upvotes. You literally saw some guy just post it, and he probably had like 1 to 2 upvotes, and you're like, man, this is what everybody on Reddit thinks. And you're just like, you can find an opinion for everything in the world if you look hard enough. Don't just give voices to everybody. Don't say this is what people think.
This is a fun fact about Bjergsen in 2015. Bjergsen is the only non-ADC player to have the highest damage at a World Championship, which was during 2015, where he had a 37.6% of his team's damage. This would also be the highest damage in the world's history if we exclude 2017, where every ADC had an inflated damage due to the Ardent meta. This was also the year that Bjergsen had 4 Warbs being started.
Because, okay. Dominate right now. I will dominate is straight up. He has transitioned into this kind of person who is a reactionary kind of thing. He's hostile, and his whole viewership kind of want to see his weird hot takes and trashing other people. That's what Dominate has been one of my favorite streamers for years. When he's not tilting, he is my favorite player to watch. I've watched his stream probably close to 1,000 hours at this point. I still think he is conformed. He's shifted his whole thing into a persona where he 100% just tries to appeal to the people and tries to show this is what somebody's saying, they're stupid, and that's just what he does. And that's the same thing with LS. I mean, realistically, there are some stupid people out there. You find an opinion for it, you can see it. And there are probably people who believe it. But saying that a majority of people believe this stuff is just is crazy. I mean, it's just not true. Reddit is...
I will dominate. I think he's going a little too crazy with some of the Bjergsen hype. He's saying like Bjergsen was like a top 3 mid laner in the world. That's just stupid. Like I don't.
When did he say this?
He says recent things. I'll show you parts of it where he said this.
I mean, to be fair, I rated Bjergsen in the top 5 going into Worlds.
I think he said it was like no top 5. He said that Bjergsen was a top 5 player in the world back in like season 4 Worlds.
I mean, I don't think you
season
can
4
imagine.
Worlds, season 4 Worlds, season 5 Worlds. He was all Bjergsen beat Nagne in lane. Great, congratulations! Like oh my god, big whoop-de-doo.
In season 4 to 5, I think that
Bjergsen was power ranked like the 3rd best mid laner in the group. No, yeah. What was that group about? It was Bjergsen, Nagne, Godvi, and Xpeke. Yeah, Xpeke was the worst coming in. So you'd have Godvi.
Godvi was ranked higher than him going in because Godvi was
it was Godvi, Bjergsen, Nagne, and Xpeke. Yeah.
Godvi was just actually an insanely just a disgusting monster going into China by the end of the season.
Like, if Bjergsen was literally power ranked like the 2nd best mid laner going into that group, I mean, if he beat the worst, he beat another bad mid laner. Congrats.
Actually, I want to point out, I think...
then he didn't tell the full story. He said, oh yeah, Bjergsen beat Crown in season 6. Crown beat Bjergsen the next week. He just stopped him. What? So do we not tell the full story here?
What is the emotion being put in? No one disagrees that Crown was better.
No, you're not listening. What I'm saying is that he's not telling the full story. He's saying that Bjergsen beat Crown Syndrome. I will dominate. We were not talking about?
You kind of transitioned halfway through to season.
No, it's still just I will. I'm just making a point.
He said season 4, right?
Yeah. And then he said that Bjergsen beat Crown on Syndra when his Crown played Varus. This was back when they're playing Wraith on Samsung Galaxy. Remember? But then
I want to point out
he didn't tell the full story. Crown beat Bjergsen the next week. You have to tell the full story. No.
The thing about it is, if you're able, like, just the reason that people look back on, like, what's his name, Febvin, back in season 5 when he was able to solo kill Faker, he's not better than Faker. But the fact that you can pull that off means that you're a good player, and that's the same thing. Crown was.
No one looks at the games where Faker beat Febvin. You need to tell the full story, though.
Yeah, but you don't care about that because Faker's a better player than him.
No, but you need to tell the full story for people to understand the whole thing, though.
It's not about that. They just look at this. If you can solo kill Faker, you're a good player. I think it's just reality. If you can solo kill him once, you're a good player. Doesn't mean you're better than him.
I understand that. But you have to tell the full story so people can understand the context of what you're saying. If I beat you one time in lane and then you beat me, that does not make me better than you. If you beat me,
I don't think he's trying to say Fake Bjergsen's better than him. I think what he's saying is, look how he was able to play against this extremely top 2 mid laner at the world. I think that's what he was going for. I 100% agree with that. Thorn. The one thing I think about Thorn, I've seen a lot of mistakes everywhere. I saw him on Reddit one time, and he told me, I said Shaq was the most dominant player of all time in his prime, just specifically.
What about like I think I said that before. I was like, what about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
No, Shaq is the single most dominant player.
What about the other dude? Oh my God, the Celtics iconic white guy.
Are you talking? No, not a white guy.
Russell dude.
Bill Russell's a big old not white guy.
The Celtics guy, Bill Russell. Yeah, that guy. He doesn't bring up anybody. I'm like, holy crap. No, the problem I have with I Will Dominate when he has his Bjergsen argument is, this is for people who don't understand. If you do not present the whole argument, you're not exactly telling the full story. You can say Bjergsen was better at certain points, but you need to tell the full story.
I feel like he wasn't even saying that Crown was worse than Bjergsen. He literally was just pointing out the solo kill, and that's just what it was.
Well, he was pointing out that Bjergsen wasn't as bad as people were saying.
And that doesn't mean he's better than Crown. I mean, no one's agreeing with that. No one thinks that he's better, and even I Will Dominate's not making that point. He's trying to say, he's trying to say that
Nemesis solo kill Baker too. That's true.
I mean, that is a fact, and I think Nemesis was really good in 2019. I still think that was the case. I think he was a really good player. He was one of the best in Spring Split of 2019. He was probably the single best player on Fnatic, and I still agree with that to this day. I think that like Reckless was struggling, everybody was struggling on that team, and then Nemesis was getting a lot of bad matchups, like the Vayne into the Galio against who was that? Was that Nuke Duck? And he was able to play really well into him. Just hates. Do you think he purposely hates Fnatic and TSM so people like? He literally is just. Okay, let's look about this. If you want to get famous on social media, you essentially have to become a big kind of polar. This is what he does. He's a polarizing person that draws your attention by saying things that people actually find like that goes against the grain. And realistically, hating TSM and Fnatic is normal. He literally just hates the most popular teams. Isn't that just kind of a weird concept that the two most popular teams in the West, he's just so against? I mean, I don't dislike Dival Dominate. He's extremely intelligent about the game, but I think that he has to become this person because that's just what's popular. One of them said Bjergsen was better than Crown. Crown gets a lot of hate. Bjergsen was not better than Crown. If anybody says he was better than Crown in 2016, you're just crazy. As much as I love Bjergsen.
It's just that, no, like, okay, so the reason why he gets a lot of hate for Fnatic and TSM is because if you talk about TSM and you say anything bad about their players, like, and you put it on Reddit, TSM fans just downvote you to hell. If you say anything about TSM, or Fnatic, actually. Well, Fnatic are a bit nicer, because I'm actually in some Fnatic groups. They're actually some pretty nice people. They're just kind of delusional, but they're some nice people. TSM fans are delusional and not nice. And on Reddit, they'll just downvote your shit. And that's if you say anything bad about their team. That's just... Okay. Also, he's kind of salty because he could have coached Fnatic in Season 5 when they got Rainover and Huni, and he turned down the
Who did?
The coaching position, Thorin.
Thorin was never... Thorin is somebody who looks at the league in a very broad view. He would have been a terrible coach because he doesn't understand the very minuscule details that go into league. He understands it in a broad sense, which is like, this is what's happening in the game, but he doesn't understand why things happen. I don't dislike Thorin. He is one of the most... he's extremely intelligent, and he understands the behind-the-scenes things and all these things that actually go into making a team good, but he doesn't understand league to a very detailed extent. And that's why I don't think you make a good coach. TSM fans are the worst, and I mean, everybody's the worst. Every fan is the worst because they fanboy for them.
Could you imagine? Well, he probably feels pretty salty that he could have coached a Season 5 Fnatic that went to top 4 at Worlds.
I don't think he would have, because he knows he would have done terrible. I think so. I mean, maybe he's more like for the most part, I feel like he doesn't delve into the inner mechanisms behind league. Maybe a little bit.
Dude, TSM fans are some people are just straight up stupid.
Some people are stupid.
This guy, I think it was on Facebook. This guy, he got into. I didn't reply because I was just reading it. Like, I don't reply to these arguments. Sometimes I just read them. This guy was like, "Well, you know what's better? Winning LCS and going 0-6 at Worlds." I'm like, "That's not. You literally just embarrassed yourself." What? These people, some of these guys are actually stupid.
Well, that's because Monte Cristo is one of the single most knowledgeable people that's ever just been in the league scene. I love Monte Cristo. He's my favorite caster of all time. Him and Doa. I've never liked anybody as much as I've liked Monty, and that's why Thorin was good with him, because he knew how to.
I'm gonna change his name to Thorin 2.0 because he likes to have no fun.
Who you're gonna change? Whose name?
Yours.
I love fun. Hello. But I think the big thing right now, if you look at it right now, if you want to understand the actual meaning behind Reddit, if you look at one thing that I like, if you look at one specific thing that happens on Reddit, if they have like a what is it called? I'm trying to think of something that happened. There was a big old thing that happened on Reddit, and they had an apology video after. But first thing that happened was them talking about how Frostgaren was a terrible caster and all this stuff, and she did terrible and all this stuff, and that was every single upvoted comment was this about how trash they were. And then you go back.
Oh, for the semifinal thing.
And then there are thousands of popular votes and all this stuff. And then you go to the next thing that is an apology thing from Frostgaren, and everybody's like, "Man, you didn't actually do that bad, and no one actually cares that much. And these all guys were so salty because you're a bunch of hating on it." And it's just no. Just think about this. They got 1,000 views too, so it's like there's not one specific mindset that is in Reddit. It's just whoever gets there first. And it's even a proven statistical fact. Whoever gets to the comment section first dictates what the rest of the comments are going to be like, because they get upvoted by the popular first, and then the rest of the things everybody votes kind of votes to follow suit with the rest of the comments. It was. I can't remember. Somebody did a study on it, but it's not specifically that there's one aspect. It's just purely everybody follows in a hive mind to upvote whatever follows in line with the most upvoted comment. Like that's literally in every single. If you look at Reddit, it's always.
Well, yeah, that's why Frost Garen's not friends with Thorin no more, because she said on Twitter in like a couple comments he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just. Well, she basically that's all she said. She said he just doesn't know what he's talking about. Because he was claiming things that LEC broadcasts were doing, and she literally pointed out like clips of them not doing what he said, and she said he just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think Thorin has insight, knowledge, and it is just.
He's also a caster himself, so that can balance it out. So that he's a caster himself. So
he's kind of a caster.
No, he's a caster for CS:GO events.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good at CS:GO. I don't want to take a rate.
Like on casting angles, he can have an opinion on that because he is a caster. I'm just saying, like, I don't know, like just the ways he looks at things is just kind of stupid. I don't know, you know.
I think
like literally, if there's any TSFN out there that says going 0-6 at Worlds is fun, it's fine. You might as well just stop playing League, unplug your computer, and go home.
My big thing about it is if you look at there's like this one situation where Thorn just went off on Locodoco, and like one of the things, and Locodoco eventually like not too long after that kind of gave up on League, and that kind of really frustrated me because Locodoco is really knowledgeable about the League scene.
Oh, you're talking about that Listen Loco episode where he went off for like no reason whatsoever?
I don't know if it was no reason, but I remember the clip, and it's just like Thorn needs to be less hyper aggressive. Thorn.
Oh no, if you talk to me that way in a clip, I'm about to punch you in your face.
Through the screen.
No, I'm straight up cussing you out. I'm literally I'll go nuts. The only reason why Locodoco didn't do it, and like this is the reason why I think, is because he needed Thorn's connections. That's the reason why I didn't do it. If he didn't care about Thorn's connections and his big platform, he would have told him off. He's yelled at people before. He's literally in TSM Legends yelling at Bjergsen. So tell me he wouldn't yell at Thorin? He's just, you know.
Well, Bjergsen is a lot less aggressive than like Thorn.
Also Bjergsen was really young too, so.
Yeah. And he knows Thorn a lot better. I mean, Bjergsen a lot better. But what do you guys think of the top 5 mids in 2020 Worlds? Showmaker, 100%. Angel.
Angel, yeah.
Another one would be, let's look at the top mid laners. Man, I can't.
Man, there was some.
Chobi was probably in the top 5. Chobi's probably in the top 5.
Well, I thought Chobi played pretty well. I was gonna say Jensen, Power Vivo, you could throw in there too. They played great.
It's hard because again, I think that Caps is better than both of those people.
I would say Caps.
No. No, you know what? Caps wasn't better than both. I've been trying to think.
Caps played pretty well overall.
I think Caps played pretty poorly this Worlds. I think this was his worst World so far. I think Caps is probably in the top 5, but this is definitely a downgrade from the last season, in my opinion.
Well, we had Showmaker, Angel. Knight played pretty off
really
too.
Well. No, Knight played really well until the playoffs, and I think he really downgraded during the playoffs. But I would put Knight in the top 4. I think he's definitely top 4, top 5. Number 5th place is the big one. It's like Jovi. I'm trying to think if there's any other options. Obviously, you're not going to put Bjergsen there. You're not going to put anybody from Group C.
Why is Bjergsen not number 1? That's what I'm trying to ask.
He's number 1 in one list. It's probably it's probably Caps. Caps was probably the 5th best mid laner. He literally was. There was a very large gap between him and the top 4 support. I mean, what's it called?
He was very, very serviceable.
Mechanically, I think he was worse than BDD, but BDD was so outmatched by him in that series. He just got outroamed, just all around. Like it's a toss up between Jensen, Power Vivo, and Caps, but I would give the slight edge to Caps because I think Caps actually let me think. I don't know. Caps did pretty poorly against Jensen this season, like in this World. So I think he actually got outmatched, but it's kind of hard to tell.
Best junglers, top 5 junglers at Worlds, I would say are SOFM, Canyon, Karsa, Selfmade.
No. Hold on. Let's think. I think we gotta take a little more time than that.
For junglers?
Yeah, you got.
I'm pretty sure it's wide open.
Gemini. Maybe.
Is your 5th?
Gemini. I'm trying to think. Like I don't want to give.
He'd be your 5th.
No,
he would be.
You have to think about it a little more than that. You just kind of went down a list without thinking, and that's why I was kind of hesitant to do that. So.
I mean, the first 2 are pretty locked. I'm pretty sure the thing about
first 2 are locked, in my opinion. I think there's no doubt about that. I think Gemini is probably in the top 5, in my opinion. I think that.
Selfmade's definitely in the top 5 for me.
Clip definitely wasn't in the top 5 this season.
Oh,
that was
God.
unfortunate.
I mean, he can't see the keyboard, so it doesn't matter.
Karsa was probably 3rd.
SOFM, Canyon, Karsa, Selfmade. I don't know who will have as a 5th. I'm not gonna say Santorin. No. Roxa, no. He's just
Yeah. I don't like the pace at which he did. He just named them right off the top of his head.
Those are all the best ones.
Yeah, I like
SOFM, Canyon, Karsa, and Selfmade. Those are the best ones. If you're throwing in Gemini, that's fine. Honestly,
I think Gemini's probably 5th place.
Yeah, that's probably okay.
No. It's 5th place. 5th place is probably a good place for him.
Like if you're counting the playoffs, you only had Karsa, Selfmade, Klid, and Yankos, and Piosik. Piosik also did play pretty well in the group stage.
I don't care if Karsa can't. I think
because Piosik played better than Gemini in the group stage.
What's up?
Because Piosik played better than Gemini.
I don't know about that. I think Gemini was the only
Piosik was a monster. Holy crap!
Was good, but you're actually attributing KDA to an actual. Like he had 2 really solid games, but for the most part, I think the dictation that Gemini had for his team for the most part was the reason as to why they were able to pick it up. Like he got a lot of hate. I
would even edge the gameplay to Selfmade. If you want to put Selfmade at top 3, I would do that. I don't think
Karsa... he got straight up dumpstered in the Karsa matchup inside.
And he also won the very first 2 games.
Yeah, but that wasn't straight up a jungle.
Let's just discredit the first 2 games where it put him in.
It wasn't a jungle diff in the first 2 games. The last 3 games, 100% were attributed. In the 3rd game, he got completely dumpstered by Karsa in the Kha'Zix matchup. Like around, like
Kanabi choked so hard.
Kanabi did choke. Kanabi wasn't even in the top 5, top 6. Like
I think
Piosik
played pretty well.
Put in the top 5 maybe. It's a toss up between him and Gemini for me. I think that I would say Kanavi at 1 going into Worlds. Selfmade was just straight. Selfmade lost too hard in the matchup. Like again, if we like, I'm not
even just counting the best of 5. I think he played better in the group stage too.
I don't think he played. Karsa played really well in the group stages. Like it's hard for me to say. I think Karsa had a lot. And Selfmade had a lot of pop-off games.
And you know me, I don't like Fnatic, but I'm not. I give credit where credit is due. I think he played great.
I mean, I put him in the top 5. That's a pretty incredible place to put him. I don't know.
Thank you, Chad. Selfmade was better than Karsa. Come on.
You can have your opinions on that. I'm not going to agree with it.
But I'm just saying, for all your Fnatic fans in the chat, you guys are winning next foot anyway. You're gonna get trashed anyway, so I could be on your side for a little bit. No, I really do think Selfmade played better than Karsa. It's just the fact that Karsa had a much better team around him too. He's able to play better with the better teammates around him.
I don't know. I think that if we look at it, I think a lot of the players on Fnatic, I'll give credit, they did actually play poorly, and he played really well during the first stage of the group stages. But I mean, I think all around Karsa was the better player. I mean, it's really up to debate. I mean, I think that you can put that up there. I think that if you put the edge to like Selfmade for the better, I think group stages. But if I put the edge to him, and I think that he played better in the knockout round, I'd probably give him credit for that. Like it's hard because I think Selfmade was also gapped by SOFM inside of their game, so it's hard for me to say that he's substantially better. If that been defending you this whole time, LOL Fnatic.
I mean, if Fnatic get perks, because like this is the thing though, I don't think most Fnatic fans want to get rid of Nemesis, but they do know he's a weak mid laner though. That's the problem. Like he's not that bad. But the issue here is if you had a choice of taking Larson or Humanoid, I take them over Nemesis honestly though.
Well, I mean that's again game 1. The reason that JDG won game 1 was not because of Zoom. Straight up, like this is the one game where I think that what's his name?
Thank you, Andre. Thank you.
Now had straight up popped out. Like that's the one credit. Like I do think that overall Zoom was the best player on that team, but
Selfmade had no mid laner.
I don't care. That doesn't mean I think he's better, but it's fair enough. I mean, everybody has opinions on that stuff. I'm not gonna.
I mean, hey, would you rather have Knight or Nemesis? Because one of them was actually impacting the game.
Well, that doesn't mean anything. I'm not gonna give him credit for that, but I like Nemesis a lot, but Perks over Caps. Caps is a better mechanical player. I mean, I don't want to deny that. Caps is substantially better mechanically than Perks is, but Perks is obviously, from what I've seen, is the leader of this team. So I think keeping him on this team is most likely going to be the best bet. Top lane, best top laners of the world. I mean, I think that that's a hard one, isn't it?
The top 5 top laners from World.
I mean, I think it goes Naguri.
But I'm not gonna. For me, it'll go Ben.
I'm not gonna go top in ranked, but I'm gonna go the top.
Ben, Naguri,
The thing about it is, I think that when they put Bin on kind of weak side top laners, he struggled way too much.
You could interchange Naguri and Bin.
I think that I'm not going to put them in a ranking. I'm going to say the top 5 in no order. I'm going to say that Bin, Naguri, 369, Zoom, and who's another top laner that I could put up there?
Freak.
I don't think there's really any other.
Impact.
No.
Solo.
No.
What do you mean? Best top laners. Shit. Zoom. I thought Zoom played pretty well overall.
I put Zoom. I said Zoom. Like the top 4. Like I know
the top 3 are like Bin, Naguri, and Zoom. Those are pretty much set.
Like I put 369 up there. I think he played really well. Finn is incredibly good at carrying the opposite team, but I don't think he's great at doing it for his own.
Finn is very good at Malphite. Just let that sink in. Oh god.
I think the actual debate, the hardest one, Wonder was not. I don't think Wonder was like. Wonder was really good, actually. I'm not going to take too much away.
Wonder played pretty fine up until the few... Yeah, the last
Wonder was consistent. You're right. Actually, Wonder did pretty well.
Ben, Naguri, Zoom, 369, Wonder?
I'd probably have to think about it more, maybe.
Yeah, because Wonder and Mickey X were G2's most consistent players.
I think
I forgot! We have our awards now. We have our awards. So on the C9 Fancast, if you guys will watch that later on when we record that, we have our actual awards. So we have a TSM award because they went 0-6. And we have a Bjergsen award for hyped up player coming to the event and kind of flopping. So, a TSM. Who is the TSM of the Worlds 2020? Not TSM. This is just like, a team that was super hyped up and actually flopped. Not TSM. Because like we're just joking with the TSM doing their own thing. Who is the team that actually flopped?
Well, JDG, obviously. I don't think that can.
I think JDG is the TSM, earns the TSM award. Who would get the Bjergsen award in terms of a player that was actually insanely hyped up?
Hyped up?
Yeah. I think JDG gets the TSM team award for hyped up team that flopped. TES? Mad Lie? JDG? You guys are going nuts. JDG? Yeah, you're right, yeah.
Hyped up?
Because there was other hyped up players that Knight, you could say Knight to a certain extent, kind of Kanavi. Oh no, you're right, Lazy Turtle. That's true. A player that was super hyped coming to the event and he completely flopped. Zoom? Alright.
Zoom did not flop. I think Zoom played pretty well.
Kanavi? It's a good
Bjergsen
one.
is definitely one of them.
It's the Bjergsen award. We can't choose him.
We can't choose. Jackula played pretty well in a lot of situations, but he also
he
had some good games where it's kind of hard.
You guys are saying Knight and Kanavi.
You need one person to argue for caps and one for perks. We'll do that later. Kanavi's probably up there. Kanavi, like again, if you think about it right now, Kanavi looked pretty poor inside of the regular season. He looked really good in spring, but looked really poor in summer split in terms of like the regular season. And he started picking it back up inside of the playoffs. But for the most part, the recency bias, he didn't look that good going into Worlds for the most part. If you just discredit the playoffs, if you're trying to do the data, he tried to name it the Bjergsen Award, like.
Yeah, we named it on the Fancast. It was just in a joke. I was like, yeah, we finally got our award. The TSM award.
Yeah, Kanavi was probably the least like exciting.
Thank you. As you guys already know in the chat, that is our awards now. The TSM award and the Bjergsen award. A player that goes into World super hyped up and a team that goes into World super hyped up and they flop. Because I did not believe in TSM. As you guys know from the past episodes, go back and watch. There's receipts. I did not believe in them. I did not think they were good. I didn't even have them getting out of the group. Don't know, but hey, if you believed it, there was a world they could win at least 2 games. I thought they could win 2 games.
Hold on a second, I will pull up it right now. He had a whole difficulty where he swapped them from 2nd to 4th, and he's like, all these teams are equal. And now going into retrospect, he's like, man, this team, I expected them to win -1 game. Like it's all these things
I hope they win a few games.
I will pull it up right now if you start lying right now.
What do you mean?
I don't want you acting with me. I was there because I was the one you talked to about this.
What do you mean? You're the one that TSM getting at second place in the group.
No,
I said
no.
LGD would beat their ass. I said LGD would crush them. You're like, no, something Bjergsen. I was like, any other person on these teams?
You just lied to me.
Guys, literally, his only arguments for TSM were Bjergsen. I'm like, this is a 5-man game, right?
I'll agree. I'll respect the fact that you did repeat that, but I did give you points. Let's forget about that for now. I don't want to argue about that because that's like I think.
I'm just saying. Like,
no, I'm gonna send this to you.
Every argument that Bjergsen was made for was literally Bjergsen. Like, it's a 5-man game.
I told you Broken Blade was playing pretty well. I said, what's his name, turned it on pretty decently. Double Lift, for the most part. He played really well inside of the Team Liquid series, and I was like, you know what, this is it. This is where he comes back online, but he didn't. I mean, obviously, he flopped at Worlds again.
All right, so let me actually keep this right here, because this is our
I don't want to give Knight too much slack, because if you see the specific... Look at Game 4 of Suning versus Top. He looked atrocious. He missed way too many Orianna ults. Like, I think Knight was still one of the best mid laners. And honestly, mechanically, he might be the best mid laner in the world. Like, I still think mechanics-wise, he's still up there. But it's hard for me to rate him high purely because of how he played at World, like in that specific series. Like that was such a terrible look for him. But I expect, like, if he goes to Worlds next year, I expect a lot more from him next year. Your sword goes to Kanavi. What are you typing this in for?
That's why I remember it later on. So that's TSM award goes to JDG, and the Bjergsen award this year goes to Kanavi. There you go. We finally have something that's our own. There we go. Man, no, Kanavi was really hyped up going into Worlds, actually. Like, JDG and Kanavi were insanely hyped up going in. And rightfully so. They had right hype going in. They almost won both splits. They did really well at the Mid-Season Cup. I mean, it's
hard to give somebody a Dade award when they had good games. It's like, that's the big problem. Like, Knight had a really good series against Fnatic. Knight had a lot of good games in the what's it called? Inside of the play-in stages. I mean, not play-in, the group stages. Like, it's like you have to literally be one of the worst players at your position to get the Dade award, and that has to go to Kanavi. Who gets the Cloud9 award? That would go to Invictus Gaming because they also didn't go.
Oh, Double Lift finally broke the 3-3 record streak by going 0-6. Holy shit! God damn, you guys are evil. Oh my god. Dade, I don't know, because Knight didn't actually play poorly, but Knight, he played poorly simply by, why is this his best blind pickable champ Orianna?
I won't say that he didn't have any, but the discrepancy between the two people, Dade was the single best mid laner in the world during season 4, and he was, again, they still won with him, but he was absolutely atrocious in comparison to his...
Oh, he made it to semis, right? Yeah, he made it to semifinals.
Yeah, he was atrocious in comparison to the rest of his season. But if we look at Knight played pretty well in a lot of games. Like, Knight played up to his standard for a few minuscule, like a few amount of the games. Dade never got to that thing. When you look at Worlds, you don't think that he probably still was one of the best mid laners there in Season 4, but, like, again, there was a big discrepancy between the way he played. Legit trash repeat. I don't disagree with that. He was not the best player overall, number one. I don't know why they rated him going into that.
They rated no, because he was like, I could understand why people, and if you're talking about our awards, I could understand why people would put Knight in that, because he did have performances where he didn't show you why he was like Showmaker or Chovy level.
I mean, I don't disagree with that. Like, I've said it a few times, he had a lot of underperformances, but I think you have to legit be complete disappointment, like a complete, man, this is not the same player. Like, Nike had really good games. He had a good Echo game. He had a good Zoe game. Like,
that Nocturne game was just, God, it was disgusting.
He actually almost, like, again, they had to group up as a 6-man to stop him.
Yeah, he was solo carrying that Nocturne game.
Well, it's just like it's hard for me to say somebody who played so well in a specific amount of games can be bad. But I agree with you. I mean, he definitely was worse in Worlds than he was in China. Like, he looked a lot worse this year.
What happened to that OP Syndra Knight player that I saw in the LPL? We never got that. We never got that type of player here. And I even said, going to the event, you can punish his over-aggressive tendencies, and people did.
No one did that. He just played terrible, especially inside of the Suning series. You can't attribute that to punishing aggressive tendencies. No one ganked him. He just lost. He didn't successfully land ults. Like, it's not aggressive tendencies that he actually performed, because mid lane doesn't really get punished for that because it's such a short lane. There's not a lot of room to be able to do that. Like, legit the Zoe. Yeah, Zoe's like a pocket pick. Like Zoe, Nautilus, like Zoe and Nautilus are like the two you had. Like I remember like for a large majority of the season, like of the playoffs, they just constantly like had what's it called? Constantly played Nautilus in the support. But I mean, if you look at if we're looking at stats,
we should also have our own world's MVP. Who will be our world's MVP?
It has to go to the winning team, right? I mean, I can't imagine.
Ooh.
Best ghost is.
It should always be someone in the finals, though. At least.
I think that we should. I kind of want to go down the top 5 of each role. Support is the hardest for me. Support was legit the closest role of all the seasons. Like it's legit, like everybody. There's a lot of incredible supports at this Worlds. That's one of the best.
Okay, let's do MVP. Let's do MVP. So you said only teams in the finals. So that would be
Ariel might be the MVP for me.
I was gonna say SOFM should be the MVP throughout the whole tournament.
The problem is that SOFM didn't like. It's hard to say. Like you don't usually give MVP to the losing team. It's hard. Burial was the best player. He was the most impactful player on the winning team that 100% dominated the early game, and he was the one that kind of initiated all the early game aggressive tendencies. Mm-hmm. He was the one that pushed the pace of the game, and it's hard for me not to say Beryl. Angel got absolutely like demolished in that Cinder game, and it's kind of hard for me to say anything about that. I think he had a really good series against Knight, but I think Knight is an all-around better player who just underperformed against him that day. I feel like one of the best supports Kaiser can make a group stage thanks to his team falling apart. Canyon or Angel Bin?
Dude, you could say, I would say if you have MVP candidates, you could be Beryl, Canyon, SOFM, Bin.
You're just naming off like all the players in the finals. It depends on the.
We're only gonna pick teams from the finals anyway.
Well, yeah, but you named off half of the players in it. I think SOFM is my favorite player of all time. He still is, but it's hard for me to say that he deserves MVP.
Most valuable player that either would go to Canyon or that goes to SOFM.
It goes to Beryl for me. Like I 100% would pick him. I think again I've been high on SFM for a while, but again the tone and like kind of the identity of Damwon gaming.
This man's also a support main, so he's gonna be biased toward the support role.
No, it's true though. I mean, like just look at it. Look at all of the.
I'm not saying Beryl played bad. I think Beryl played amazing. Honestly,
I think Canyon played. I don't know. I actually Showmaker was pretty good too. Honestly, you could really make a debate for every single person
except for like Naguri. I can make an argument for everyone except for Naguri. Honestly, I think Naguri played pretty poorly compared to his last year world standard.
Well, he was put on a lot more tank games, and he played pretty well for the most part. A lot of his Ornn engages were incredible this series. Like he had a really good positioning in a lot of the team fights. But again, I would agree with that. He's probably
if I had to narrow it down to MVP, I would choose between Canyon, SOFM. That's the two that I would pick from.
I don't know. I would.
Showmaker,
I think
those are the four that I pick from. Honestly,
Beryl was 100% the reason as to why they're fast paced. Canyon is hard for me. SOFM made Sunni from a quarterfinals team to a finals contender, despite being considered a weak link, but he played so well. I mean, honestly, how many bad seasons has Ghost had? Ghost has been one of the most underrated ADCs. The only bad season I would say he had was BBQ, and that was just because the entirety of the team was terrible. Like, I loved Key. I thought Key was going to be the next Mata, and instead he just turned into somebody else. He turned into the now Mata, which was unfortunate. He turned
into Kiwi Kid.
It's just he has such talent, and he's just this wasted.
He still actually plays though. He was on Hanala for a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. Naguri's probably the best Ornn at the Worlds, and that was like the most played champion, the most impactful.
But anything not Ornn, he just underperformed on. He just I don't know.
I think his cannon was pretty decent. His cannon was pretty decent in that specific game.
Cannon was really good, yeah.
I mean, it's hard for me to say that he wasn't good. He just wasn't.
I'm not gonna put him at MVP. That's what
He's not MVP yet. I think Beryl is number one for me by a quite large margin. Then it would go probably Showmaker for me, and it's pretty it's not a large margin between those two. And then
you gotta pick one.
Yeah, I literally just said Beryl.
Oh yeah, okay.
Top is a very supportive role this world, to be honest. Like there's like a few Kennen games and then like a few Aura game there here and there. And like for the most part, it was all tanks.
For me, MVP would go to SOFM. I think, man, this guy's been insane. Like literally, if someone like people gotta understand, most valuable player does not mean best player on your team. Most valuable. If SOFM is not on Suning, they don't make the finals.
I don't disagree with that.
Put anyone there. Put Kanavi on that team. They'll probably
It's
not even
hard
beat
to
Team
really-
Liquid.
Are you saying overall throughout the entirety of the
Mhm.
worlds?
Yep. Mhm.
You know, I would give credit to SOFM. I've been talking about how he's
If
the
you
best
take
jungler at Worlds.
SOFM off Suning and you have any jungler in their position, they do not make the finals. Not even close. Put not even Kanavi. Who's on the other teams? Put Peanut on Suning. They don't make the finals at all. They probably don't even make it out of group stage. I think SOFM was so influential to how his team was actually functioning that I would have to give it to him. Now, my second pick would have been Canyon, which is still a jungler, but I think
Canyon was not more. I don't get that. Canyon was like literally a supportive role to Beryl, and I don't get how you can argue that. Like, I think he was the third.
Showmaker.
Showmaker is second. I think it's Nagur. I mean, it's Beryl, then Nagur, and then Showmaker, and then Canyon probably. Probably.
But that's my Worlds 2020 VP. My guy is SOFM. His will be Beryl. You guys want best lanes? Holy shit! That's probably gonna be all Damwon players.
I mean, I really could.
Oh no, we could do this. We could do this. Worlds, because this would be the first year we're doing this. A Worlds 2020 first place team. So it'd be top lane. You would put Bin.
I'd probably put Bin.
Bin, jungling, SOFM.
I would put SOFM.
Mid Showmaker.
Yeah.
ADC's Ghost. One thing. No, we have to choose between them. Huanfeng played really well.
If we want to point out, in the group stages, the best ADC obviously was Jackie Love, but he did not transition that well into the knockout stages. So it's kind of hard for me to put him up there anymore. Like, he had a lot of good games, but again, his kind of playstyle is supportive. Like, he's kind of like gated by how well his teammates are playing, because again, he's into the enemy front line, and if the team is falling apart around him, he's dead. They don't push him off or anything. And he really does, at the top level of play, Jackie Love is the best ADC in the world, but see, just his play style is so finicky, it's just so fragile that if he messes it up even slightly, he just loses the game for his team. I mean, I think the best ADC, I don't know. I mean, it probably would be Huangfang.
I don't know, Ghost. That's the thing, though. Then you're just discrediting Ghost, too.
Ghost was great, but again, it was because he fit this team so well that he was so good. Ghost was an incredibly good ADC. And it's, you know what? It's a very big, it's a hard argument for me whether or not I'd put him or Huangfang first. Huangfang played really well in this series. He actually solo killed a few times when they got Elder Dragon in game 1. He was able to solo kill, what's his name, when he was chasing them down to try and kill off the rest of the Elder Dragons. But then again, Huangfang right after that walked down mid and got soloed by Showmaker, so who knows? Like, it's hard for me to say who the best ADC was. I think that's one of the closest ones. But yeah, I mean, I would probably, I don't think I'd put Reckless there. I mean, I think Reckless played really well, but again, I think that the baseline of what he did was not better than anything that like Ghost did or any, like, he played really well in the group stages. And he was like the funneled, this is the player that we're playing through Fnatic, but I mean, I agree with that. It's hard for me to say, no. Ghost played a lot worse inside of team fights. Like, I think that's I
thought he played well in team fights. No. His Ashe in team fights was amazing.
No. I mean, Ashe is extremely easy to execute in team fights.
Hey, it might be extremely easy, but it's for us. But it's definitely harder for him doing it in that.
I'm not denying that. But when a team perfectly surrounds you in the proper ways to be able to like dish out as much DPS as you can, I think with what he was working with, Huangfang did quite a bit of damage, considering his team with a role that is kind of designed to have a front line. He did a lot of damage for what he did. I think Huangfang.
So you want to put Huanfeng over it? Ghost?
I think I'd probably put Huangfang there. But the support is the big question for me because there were so many good supports. Like Mickey X was really good, but I don't even think he was the best support in his.
I thought Hillsang played great. Hillsang played great. Core JJ played great.
It's just like I don't even think like
Beryl played great. There's a lot of good supports in the world.
There's Mickey X. There's Beryl. There's what's it called? There was there was Sword Art. There was a lot of good supports.
I don't think Sword Art was that good.
Sword Art was so good, and you're wrong, and I hate when you say that. Literally, the reason they won the finals. No, listen to me. The reason they won Game 2 was literally because of Sword Art. The reason they won 2 team fights was because he got out the back line in Game 1 twice. Literally, the only games that they actually had a functioning chance at were because of Sword Art and his Leona. Like, literally, like, when they banned Leona, I'll give you credit. He didn't look as good. But saying that Sword Art wasn't good at this Worlds, I wouldn't even take that.
Straight up ran it down on Tom Kinch, Braum. Like, he literally lost some massive games in the finals.
Go look at game 1 and go look at the dragon fight towards the beginning half of this book. Just go look at a highlight and see
I'm
how
not
they
saying
initiate.
he wasn't influential. I'm saying he wasn't on the level.
In the finals, he was the best player on his team in the finals. And that's not a question for me. And I love SOFM a lot. But the difference between those two was just gigantic. SOFM had a really bad game 3. What's his name? Sword Art set up a lot. They lost because of him. I'll agree with that.
Many great things he did for
them.
No, he was
not
a coin flip, essentially.
He was not a coin flip. They essentially started picking comps that were designed to make him not as influential because they banned out his Leon.
When they gave him Tom Kench, Bard, or Braum, he was completely useless.
His Bard was really good in the group stage.
He got caught out consistently.
It was not
over Dragon Control.
I will literally pull up the KDA if you start talking.
The KDA.
Because you can't die a lot and get caught out a lot if you don't die a lot. I mean, realistically,
KDA won't show you that.
His KDA will show you that. But the reason that I think his Bard was incredible, he made a massive amount of good plays inside of the group stages with Bard. I don't even get that. He did really well in the JDG series.
So who do you want to have here?
I'm just saying I don't get why you wouldn't even consider Sword Art because he was he was like the second to third best player on it's kind of hard to say.
He was a reason why they won and also a reason why they lost. That's not the
only reason they won a single game. And I will say that without a doubt. And he was the only reason they were able to consistently contest in the game 1 and game 3 because he made a lot of good engages. Like it's kind of crazy to me that you think the most the role that can't build any tank stats yet is forced to be one of the primary sources of engages is obviously going to die more. That's just how the role works. It's volatile, and that's why people die often in that role. But without a doubt, I don't think you can argue that at the very least he wasn't top 5. And that's just I think that he's just
not putting a support there. Ooh,
he's in top 5 in support. We're picking the support role. I would hope there's a support there.
If we're picking a support in the top 5, I would probably Barrel played. Barrel played just absolutely.
I think a top 3 supports. I think Barrel and Core JJ are my top 2. I think as much as people don't want to really acknowledge it. I think
that's what I was leaning towards right there.
Core JJ played really well this season.
But I can't give Core JJ. It's like you're giving a player that didn't make it out of group stage. First place team.
He straight up almost solo carried them back into contention. The only reason they didn't have a chance with how well he played is because when he got caught, the team was in better positions to capitalize. I agree. Barrel was the better player. Barrel was better than Sword Art. I just didn't like how he said Sword Art was bad because Sword Art played really well this Worlds for the most part. He had a few bad games that.
But it's I don't know if we can you can. The problem with putting Core JJ in is that you're putting in a player who didn't get our group stage.
Yeah, but at the same time, his whole team was not. I don't think Kaiser was better than Core JJ. I disagree with that. I don't think Kaiser's ever been as much as I think Kaiser has been one of the best supports. I never think he was as good as Core JJ. And that's just my opinion on that specific one. Kaiser is really good. But Core JJ was the single best player in all of NA by a large margin. And was probably the best player from the West. Not even probably. He was the best player, in my opinion, from the West this season.
Let's see.
Mickey X played really well in a lot of these Worlds.
No, Mike. Mickey X was the best player in G2 the whole event.
No, if you look at the specific, he's talking about the Pantheon the game and stuff, but I think the Team Liquid versus G2 game was just straight up Core JJ versus Mickey X, and that was the most exciting game ever. It was so fun to watch.
Chad, let me ask you. So we're doing our World's first place All-Pro team. We have Ben, SOFM, Showmaker, and Huanfeng. Who do you guys want to pick?
It's definitely
Barrel, Sword Art, Core JJ, and Mickey X, and who else do you have in there?
Barrel is definitely first place.
I'm pretty sure it's Barrel that's gonna make it. I just couldn't justify putting someone in the first place position, and if you get out of group stage.
I thought we were talking about top 5. That's why I started naming top 5 people.
I was never gonna put Sword Art here. That's never gonna happen.
Well, I wasn't putting him in the first.
If you made a third place team, yeah, he could be there. But Wait,
I thought we were talking about top 5 supports. That's why I started naming off people.
Oh yeah.
Second place. I don't even know, honestly.
Barrel.
Zoom would be top for second place for me. No. You know what? I'm trying to. It's hard. I think you know what? Zoom was probably top. For second place. I think Naguri is probably third. Second was Zoom for me in top. Jungle was.
Who do we have in the? Yeah.
Mid lane was not mid lane was Angel. Mid lane was Angel.
Oh,
ADC.
you had Chovy.
No,
Remember?
no. I did not have Chovy over. I put him in the top 5.
Oh, I thought you were making a second team.
Yeah, I am the second team. Second team is
Zoom Canyon. Oh, we did a mid laner. Angel.
Angel. I put Angel there. I put Showmaker in top 1.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, so we have Angel. So you're on the bot lane now.
ADC would probably have to be Ghost.
That would have to be yeah. It would have to be Ghost. Ghost.
I think you're getting 369 and Zoom mixed up. I think 369. I mean, I don't know. I mean, do you really think we should put him towards the top 2? I think 369 had a lot of good games, but I think that
had
Zoom
a lot of good games too. But so did Zoom.
Zoom had a lot of, like, it's hard for me to say. Like, I think China obviously took the top. No. Like, I think China probably took the top 3 top lane positions. I think that 369 is probably third, but I think that in jungle role for second place, it's Canyon, Angel for mid. ADC is probably going to be.
It's good. He got Ghost.
I mean, I'm just putting Ghost because he made it to the finals. Like, overall, I think his highs aren't nearly as high as some of the other ADCs, but I think that overall he played really well this series.
Problem is, even if that was true, like I didn't see anybody better at the event than him.
Hard to have any JDG players. They got second place in their role and they made it to the knockout stage. I mean, to be fair, the group was really easy. But again, I mean, it was just literally him versus the enemy team, and it's like overall, I think he played pretty well against what I would consider as one of the best top laner, probably the best top laner at the event. He played pretty well against. Did you see Canyon's stats? They're literally first accept damage per team. I don't care. I mean, I don't care about stats. I mean, I just
literally said I don't care about stats, and then bring up stats in an argument.
No. It was specifically that specific argument because you said he died everywhere, and I just said you can't. I can bring up KDA because he obviously didn't have that many deaths. But I don't like. It's just a completely different scenario there. But I think that Canyon 100%. Like, it's hard for me to say. I don't think.
Well, if you have Zoom, Canyon, Angel, and Ghost, who else would you have for the support?
Support. Probably, I would pick Core JJ.
All these are Mickey X.
Mickey X was not better than Core JJ. Core JJ completely beat him in both games that they played against each other. Like, that's just a big indicator for me. He almost solo carried them out of group stages.
Both games they played?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that all around, Naguri and Zoom gapped Bin without jungle attention. No. I mean, Naguri, was the top. Actually, Naguri did really well in that gank 1v2 in top lane in game 1. But for the most part, it wasn't really any time there wasn't jungle difference one way or the other. Like, there was literally less than 5 minutes apart for most of the series, like in jungle attention during laning phase. So it's kind of hard to say anybody didn't get jungle attention. It always happened. I don't think there was really a situation besides maybe game 4. But even then, like game 3, there was literally constant ganks top. That was the entirety of the game. Like, let me think. I don't know. I mean, Zoom, like, Bin also got a pentakill. I mean, it's hard for me to attribute that to anything else but a good setup from his team. I don't really think he played the best on his team in this game. But a pentakill definitely does mean that you didn't get fully gapped. Let me think. I would put Core JJ at second. In third place, I would put Sword Art for the support. I mean, that's probably the top 3 for me.
What?
Top 3. I mean, I was just telling my top 3 supports.
So you want that?
Zoom, Canyon, Angel, Ghost, J. Sure. Why are we writing it down, by the way? Do you remember why?
I need to have this just in case I put it up in Discord that we remember what we put out. That's pretty much it. That's all the World's Awards. MVP, he chose Beryl, I chose Core JJ. Our first, second.
You did not pick Core JJ, hold on. You said FSOFM.
Yeah. You chose Beryl, I chose SOFM.
Yeah, there you go.
The TSM award goes to JDG. The Beerson award goes to Kanafi. He played so bad.
Yeah,
he actually just did nothing. He just played in Italy and threw spears at jungle camps. I was like, God damn, this man was worse than Spica. Spica had more impact on TSM's games than Kanavi did on JDG's games. Crazy. Crazy. But that's pretty much it. This man was really fighting hard for Core JJ. Every time you pick up a support, he got better than Core JJ.
I fought hard with Sword Art, not Core JJ. I mean, I was literally trash talking Sword Art all season, if you remember, and I swapped really drastically for Worlds. And I've been fighting for what's his name, for SOFM for 6 seasons now. So
and you didn't put him at first place.
I'm not going to change my mind on that. I mean, I didn't think just because he's better that, I mean, they looked better.
Never forget, man, 9-man sleep. That's why TSM is going to be the TSM Team Award. And what it means moving forward, so it's like these things don't get like misconception or misconstrued. The TSM Award means that you're a team that's hyped up, coming up, and then you flop. That's it. That's all it means. TSM are really hyped up for North American people. Don't know why. They flopped. And then, obviously, that's where they have the award. The Pearson Award is another hyped up player, and then he just flops. That's essentially what it is. And then the MVPs will always happen. The first place, second place, World's team will always happen. I think these are good awards. We've been trying to get one for so long. We just never honestly could get one.
I mean, I disagree with that completely. I mean, I think that you can 100%, considering how hard it is to make it out of groups, because there's only half of the people to make it out. And I think you have to have a substantially decent group around you. I mean, it's reasonable why you would think that.
Mike, I said that too. I think the players should at least have gone out of the group stage.
Fair enough. I just think that you can't. I don't think anybody could have carried Team Liquid as replacing one member at a time. I think that if you put the best player in their position on Team Liquid, none of them could have carried that team out of groups. And that's just my thought process behind it. Like,
no, Nick, LGD are so trash they don't even get the award. They were just so bad. LGD. Oh my god. LGD almost lost to a Oceanic team. That's shame in and of itself. The fact that they roll, oh shit. Oh, that was so fun watching that.
Mad was trash. Mad was terrible.
If I could give this award to 2 other teams, it would be LGD and Mad, because they definitely deserve it. Holy crap. Never forget, 9-man sleep. That's why TSM gets the award. But for anybody who's watching this that has not subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. That's pretty much it, unless there's any off-season news that came out when we were doing this.
Then I mean, I'm not one of the people that disappointed in Worlds, so I don't care. I could trash talk both NA and LGD. Doesn't matter. Like, LGD 100% played poorly in World and group stages.
I thought Kramer played okay for what he had to deal with.
Whatever. I mean, he was a pretty decent ADC all around, but still. LGD was definitely better than TSM. I don't disagree with that. Got MVP in all positions with this year's being jungle with Canyon. I don't know.
Let's see. No, that's pretty much it, unless I go to Reddit. Let me go to the League of Legends Reddit and see if anything was leaked there. That's pretty much it. We got all our awards, MVPs, all pro teams. Yeah, there's gonna be always the exception of, you know, the most of the time you should be making out of groups to obviously, you know, be into the team. And if you have to factor in, if it's not for JJ, it's probably gonna be Mickey X anyway. That's most likely gonna happen. Or Hylissang, because people keep reading. Hylissang actually didn't int as hard as most people predicted, which was good. Like, he actually played really solid the whole World Championship.
I don't disagree with that. I think he played really well.
Like, everyone kept saying he would just run it down, and it's like, he didn't really do that, actually.
I mean, I expected it to be fair.
Oh, I expected a lot. I thought it was going to be hilarious. This man was going to go run at everything. Nope, that's pretty much it. So, yeah, we'll see you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe, most of all, enjoy. We'll be back next week. Hopefully there's going to be off-season news. If there's not, I will just talk about whatever. Probably talk about the greatest moments of World Championship history, actually. Now that we've had 10 World Championships, actually. So, you know, anything you want to say before we close out?
Yeah, anything I want to say before Worlds closes out? Let me see. Besides the fact that Carson was better than Selfmade, not really, no. I'm good.
If Selfmade would have been my alt, would have been on the 13 for me.
Okay, that's fair enough for you.
Because you're debating on between Carson, yeah, I'd be between those two. But that's pretty much it. See you guys later. Goodbye. If you didn't also like the video when you caught it on stream, just